Welcome to Prosperous Living with Toyia. We are discussing Neville Goddard's book, The Power of Awareness. This is a ancient teaching put in this book, reminding us of who we are. And today is a book discussion. We're discussing chapter 23. Hello, welcome. I am streaming on YouTube as well as TikTok. TikTok is Prosperous Living with _T, and YouTube, Prosperous Living with Toyia. I'm also on Facebook. I have a Facebook group, Prosperous Living with Toyia, as well. Go over there and join our community where we share quotes and books and inspirational quotes. So this is more like an extension of Manifesting Wednesdays, because this book is talking about realized desires. Neville Goddard calls it case histories. I like the terminology success stories. Some people will say testimonies. Oh, hello. Hey, God King. Welcome. Come on in. Wait a few moments. We generally start at 10 o'clock. I come on a little earlier, waiting for the others who have read the book to join on in. And they'll come up to the panel. We'll talk about, this is a time to look back over the book, look back over your life, look back at how you can correlate your thoughts and things. And the things are the people in your life, which are your relationships, whether it be your coworkers, your family, your friends, strangers, whoever it is. They are your assumptions about life made manifest. That's all manifestation is thoughts made visible, right? We think we have to try to manifest. It happens naturally. What you want to do is be aware of how you're manifesting and be aware of what you're manifesting. That's why this book is so good, The Power of Awareness, because it is helping you to correlate between your thoughts, which is your intentions, which is also can be your emotions, the words that you say to yourself, your identity, how you identify your self-concept, right? What you think about you, what you think about others, what you think about your world, you're always going to get confirmation of. I don't care what it is. If you're always talking about the atrocities of life, the horrors, the injustices, your world is going to be filled with examples of that belief system. You want to focus on the lovely, so you get examples of that, right? So you are always bombarded with joy, peace, love, harmony, justice, right? What you see in your world, your personal reality, not what you see on TV, not what you read in the newspaper, not what you see on social media, but in your personal world, your day-to-day interaction. What do you see? What do you experience? And it's 9 times out of 10 not what you're seeing on TV. It's not what you're seeing on the news. It's not what you're seeing, on social media. If you be honest with yourself, you may have a little disruption with coworkers or something, but that's only because of the way you think. If you don't get along with your coworkers, you're the problem, though. Understand that. If you're having difficulty in your relationships, you're the problem. As Taylor Swift said, it's me. I'm the problem. It's you. You gotta take accountability, because you're thinking you're thinking it, which is why it's happening. If you thought differently, something else will be happening. It's so easy peasy, fresh and squeezy. Hey, Mia, welcome. How are you? It's easy. And so we're discussing Neville Goddard's book, chapter 23. We're talking about case histories. That's what he titled that chapter. I like the terminology success stories. Other people will say testimonies. Testimonials remind too much of church. And what I come to realize, nothing is testing me. I'm not being tested in reality. When you think of test, you should think of it like when you hear about scientists, right? That they test things, that they go through trials, that they experiment. That's how you should see tests, not as a punishment or a way of trying to get you to behave a certain way, right? Because when religion talks, specifically Christianity or Islam or any of these religions that try to put power on the outside, they think of tests as God is doing this to you to get you to be a certain way for him, right? Before I'll bless you, I got to see if you're worthy of it or not, you know? And not true. Not true. Hold on for a second. Yes, Michael? Can I go outside? Yes. I forgot to put my Wi-Fi on. Can I go outside? Who am I talking to? I'm talking to TikTok and YouTube. I'm on TikTok and I'm on yes, and I'm on YouTube. Yes. Yes, I said yes. I'm streaming on YouTube and on TikTok. So a lot of times I look more towards TikTok. Because TikTok, we get to come up in the box and have a conversation, waiting for everyone to come on in. Good morning, good morning. Hello, hello. The 012, hello, Cheryl, hello. Hello, welcome, welcome. YouTube, this is a book discussion. Today we're talking about Neville Goddard's book, The Power of Awareness. And we will be talking about how using the law of mind, the law of assumption, the law of belief, the power of your subconscious mind, the power of your awareness to manifest your desires. And so in his book, The Power of Awareness, he has a chapter titled Case Stories. And so we will be discussing that, but mostly we will be talking about how this truth, how our awareness of this truth has transformed our lives. That our lives are much more enjoyable, that we found the joy, the peace, the love that we thought was out there, and we recognize it's within us. Hey, Latoxi, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Teddy girl. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. Come on in where the table is spread. Hello, welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. Hello, YouTube fam. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. So if you have some manifestation stories you want to share, if you want to share them live, you can come to TikTok and join the panel. If you want to just comment, you can continue to stay on YouTube. Please like the live, share the live. Liking the live helps it be pushed out and be seen by more people. I did find out that YouTube are pushing more lives because if you have that, what do they call it?
Create or something?
No, the way you, like when you take a picture, the way it's configured. What is it called?
I have no clue. I'm totally new to YouTube.
Not panorama. What is it? You have the different, when you're taking a picture, you know, you have the different shapes and forms of how the because it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with YouTube, but that's not what it is. It's because of the way because I don't have it this way. I have it vertical. They're pushing those out, but it's called something, right? Not horizontal, but because it's vertical, they're pushing those out because they realize most people watch YouTube on their phone.
Right.
So instead of having it that horizontal way, right, which is more video, which is if you're watching it on TV, right, or tablet. But most people watch YouTube based like TikTok. No, that's not what it's called on your phone. You know, on your phone, you have those different, when you take a picture and you have those different options to take a picture. It's one of those. I just can't think of it right now. I just can't think of the name. But yeah, they're pushing out. They're going to. That's what I heard anyway. When you come up, please make sure you mute your phone when you come up into the box, and then I'll let you know.
That explains why all the YouTube comments, it's only been 1 minute and they're already going crazy. That explains a lot, actually. That explains why they was going crazy yesterday, too. That was like,
Yeah.
it's already like...
Oh, thank you for subbing. Hello, Barbara. Welcome, Barbara. Welcome. Hello, welcome. Yes, you can definitely get a shout out. Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Make sure you like the live and share the live. Thanks for subbing. Welcome to the community. Good morning. Hello, everyone. YouTube, TikTok. YouTube is Prosperous Living with Toyia. TikTok, Prosperous Living with _T. Hello, Cheryl. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Good morning, Teddy. How are you? Welcome.
Good morning. I'm great as well.
Oh, okay. Raging Ryan is also okay. All right. Let's see. Hello, Mia. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Okay. Latoxic, did you want to begin or you want me to start with Cheryl?
I can start.
Okay.
Cheryl break.
Yeah, I know she always goes first because she's usually the first one up. I think you go first this time. Yeah.
So I was listening to this chapter and it was just, first of all, I just love hearing stories like this.
Yeah.
Like it really is so inspiring to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I like that he touched on all the different facets of life, in terms of like health, just small things that are kind of insignificant to other people, but might be significant to you as a person. And to all the way like huge things like the building. And I just love that. And it just reminded me growing up. So I grew up in a Christian family, but like some of us were more traditional and then some of us were more evangelical. And so I have an aunt who was in like the Joel Osteen circle of people or whatever. And I didn't understand, like no one else in our family was really like that. So I didn't understand like what the hell, like I didn't understand what was going on. But one thing I didn't understand. And there was a whole other, there's a Friday discussion about, the plays about hell and all that. There's also that as well. But what I remember most was how my aunt was like, she was in like always in the healing ministries and things like that. And she had this truly unshakable faith that God could heal anything. And that she truly, she was a true believer and still is, I think, that God could heal anything. And as a child, she would, she had these, I ended up buying the book as an adult, but the book is called Sparkling Gems of the Greek or something like that. And it goes into, it's not especially like metaphysical, but it's similar. It goes into like the Greek word meanings of the New Testament and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, I just remember her having such unshakable faith and belief in God could do anything. And I appreciate that so much now, even more so now that I feel like what she was really calling them on was the law of assumption. And it was, she had several, people in her history that got healed of things. There was a woman who was blind who got healed of her blindness, like all of that stuff. I don't know the details of, what happened, but this just takes me back to realizing how what she was believing in was, if it's in the word, it's true. If it's in the Bible, if God says, be healed and made whole, then it's actually a real possibility. Like she truly believed in that. And I realize now that she was believing in the law of assumption and of just like, what I say goes, the word is real, type of thing. And
with that childlike faith, like,
yeah,
I said it. Then what? Why we arguing over it? Why we trying to? What is that? What's going on? Like,
very much so. And she was persisting. She was so persistent in her prayers, she did not let go. She was very much so of the command versus begging type of Christian, and she did not. She still. I'm saying that like she's changed. She's still the same. And I didn't realize that was my first experience of being like, you can tell God to do things. Like you can like that was my first experience of that.
Like, what we doing? Wait, I can tell God what to do?
Right. That was like, I didn't grow up that way. I didn't grow up with that mentality. So I just didn't, it was a whole new experience. So we would go to these things. Anyway, long story short, it's just really deeply reminding me how I'm so grateful that she was that way as I was growing up, because first of all, they did have a lot of miracles happen to them. My cousin got her student loans discharged. My cousin went to like a really expensive school. She went to law school. Like all of this stuff was paid for. Other cousin, he went to a good school. I don't know if it was his stuff was paid for, but whatever. Long story short, they had a whole bunch of good successes in that way that were not like planned. It wasn't like they were aiming for it. It was just a matter of just like things that just ended up happening for them. And I think a lot of that had to do with that mentality of, we just ask God. Like, I don't know why you worried. We're just gonna ask God. And the Bible says this and this and this. So therefore, like that whole prosperity ministry thing, it gets a bad rep for good reason sometimes, because obviously like a lot of the people who are involved in it are not prosperous, but the mentality of it, I'm starting to just see now more how that is the crux of what people say. They took the whole Joel Osteen people, all them people take that whole thing of God blessing you and giving you abundance here on earth, literally. They take that very, very seriously. And that's one thing I can appreciate. So all of this stuff about like, how this the boy or the son had, looked at this building and saw his family's name on the building, and all of those things that like, yeah, they had no way to do it. The whole thing about the penthouse, because I'm trying to get my penthouse too. Like all of those stories just really, it's like, this is the physical realm of the shit that we're talking about. Like it's not just a spiritual thing. It has a real effect. Like it is a real, if you're counting the 3D as real, but you know what I mean? It has, there are materials that come with this mentality, and it's really just starting to anchor into me, like how I was, grateful now to have, grown up with some sense of that. They would never call it law of assumption.
Right.
But that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Because the Bible told me so. You know what I mean? Like that's what they feel. They feel like God is, supposed to bless you in the city and in the field.
Right.
They really believe that, So this is,
but that's all that's required, right?
Yes.
That's all that's required. The only thing is with the prosperity gospel, the gospel is about prosperity. It's just they tell you, well, the only way to get God to move, it requires your money. But because they substituted faith for money, right? All it takes for a thing to happen is faith.
Right.
Regardless if you have money or not. But they said faith is the substance that's going to cause God to move, which is the money. Yeah. They said the substance in that script is money. So that's what makes it like, but if you believe it, because that's all that requires, if you believe that you have to tithe, that you have to give an offering, that you have to sow a seed of faith, and you truly believe that in your heart, then yes, you're going to reap the benefits from it. But you could have done it without the money. The money was not necessary. Because to me, now when you think of it, well, if I'm trying to get money, that whole, you got to, in order to get money, you got to give money. That's BS though. No, you don't.
Definitely. There's a whole bunch of rich kids inheriting their parents' estate that didn't spend a dime to do so. That is not real.
But if you tie it to that, if you make it conditional, it'll oblige you. The law do not care. The law says it's done unto you as you believe. So if you believe that the only way it can be done is I have to give tithing and offerings, then that's how you're always going to have to make sure you're giving some type of money before God will bless you. You'll always be in that state, right? And so if you don't, so then you're gonna borrow $20 to get to the pastor because I need to see the faith. Right? You gonna try to get it from somewhere to find out, how I'm gonna take my rent money because I need God. A lot of people do that. They take their rent money, they take their utility bill, right? They take money from a place that should be going here and give it to God. And then when the blessing don't happen, it's like, well, you doesn't have enough faith. So you telling me they doesn't have enough money? Because you tied faith to money. So are you saying the reason they ain't get it because they ain't sold enough money?
That's where they get the bad rep at because people end up becoming financially.
But it's just not in religion, right? You find it in every area of life. You find it in the spiritual community. You find it in business, right? You find it with the people that we claim have the most, beg the most. They're always raising money. You just be like, you got a room full of people with money. Why are you asking the public for the money when you're in a room full of billionaires and multimillionaires, but then you're going to ask people with quote unquote regular jobs, can you help can you help feed the children?
Right.
Can you help heal the, no, you got $100 billion, you do it.
I don't think people
understand
like
you
how big a billion
you want
is.
to change the world. Use your money, not mine.
Come on.
Why are you asking me? No, you do it.
A billion is is literally a million. Like it is not. Maybe it's 1,000 million. I have to double check on that. It's at least 1,000 million. At least. I'm pretty sure it's a million billion, but anyway, it's an astronomical number. It is absolutely insane. They will never be able to spend enough money to ever go.
But billionaires asking the public, oh, can you send money for the relief fund for hurricane, whatever? Can you send money for? No, can you send it?
Literally.
You got it.
Whenever I get text messages from politicians or anybody asking me for money, I text them back. Yeah, I'll do it. Send me $200 and I'll do it. Whenever I get random texts, I ask them for money.
And they use spirituality as a way. So it was somebody did a video where Oprah was talking about something with Hawaii, and she owns like a compound of like 2,000 acres, and she's in this summit or whatever. And it's a video that went around, and she's telling people, well, the reason why I got what I got because the reason why I'm emotionally, spiritually, and financially abundant is because of the energy I give out, and that energy goes out and comes back. But why is the energy always tied to money? So in order for you to convince people that they have to give to this charity or give to whatever foundation or whatever you're trying to raise money from, you billionaire Oprah trying to convince other people that in order for the universe to give back to them, they got to first empty their pockets. See, but the people, here's the thing. The society is set up to idolize those who seem to be successful, right? That somehow they just know something we don't know. Somehow they just, and I'm just like, girl, I thought you made your money because you believed in yourself. You believed in yourself. It's not because you gave to this organization or because you gave to that organization or right, but then trying to convince me that the way I'm going to get it is by giving it to some organization. Like what? Because that's not how you got your billions.
Definitely not.
That's not how you got your money. You did not get your money giving money to an organization unless you did and we just don't know about it. Maybe you telling us something. Maybe you telling the quiet part out loud and we thought you got it because you were successful television show when you believed in yourself and you had this way of relating to people and but now that you have made all this money, now you're trying to convince people. That's like, what? Girl.
I never bought into that bull, even at church when they would say, you have to give this and not just 10%, they wanted 30%, 40%, 50%. I was like reading the Bible, and the Bible, like, where in the Bible does it say that God and Jesus were asking people for money? Or when did Jesus ever said, okay, I just healed your servant, that'll be $99.55?
Yeah, but if you have this concept that you are responsible for saving the world, that's how they get you.
Yeah,
you gotta get out of that mind. You're here to save the world. No, you're here to create your reality. You're not here to save the world. You're here to create your reality. And if your reality needs saving, then that'll be you'll put on your superhero. You put on your cape. Yep. And go save that world.
So then I just started saving my world, and what I did was I gave that 10% to me. As
That
the law
part.
says that the house of God is you. Doesn't it say that in the Bible? The Bible says you're the house of God. It
That
doesn't
part.
talk about a building.
That
Nowhere does it say, and numerous times it says it in the Bible that we're the house of God.
That
So
part.
I'm giving money to the house right here. You
I'm the
know,
house.
I'm the house.
Right. I don't give out of need or out of lack or out of want. I give out of abundance. That's to be the
Right,
mentality. Whenever you
right.
give, it's because you're giving out of abundance. Yep.
So that's why you see a lot of people get upset, like pastors. Oh, if you give me this amount, you're gonna get this. Well, one time I got suckered into that, and I did give a certain amount, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, how come I'm not getting what the pastor said back? So I called the church and I got that money back. And they were like, "Oh no, that was a." I'm like, "No. He said in his sermon that this was a business negotiation. So if it's a business negotiation, guess what? I have the right to get my money back. So do I get my money back, or do I call the Better Business Bureau? And what do you want me to do? Because I mean, I will even call the Attorney General of your city and state to get that money back." And they sent it back.
Okay.
And then I talked, and then I prayed and said, and at the time I was a Christian, I said, "Well, here's the deal. You're having your godly people talk this stuff. Bring me the money." And I ended up from a former job that I was working at, I ended up getting a check for like $500. So for $50, I got 500.
Okay.
So,
that's what's up.
and then that's when I said, okay, well, from now on, I just was like, forget it. And when I saw that it said, where I read in the script, "We're the house of God," I was like, now on, I give to me. Screw it.
That's it. That's it.
When I was like 15, I remember I was at church and I was hanging out in the back of the church and I saw the church accountant in her office doing stuff. And I heard her say that church members can file for their tithes and offering back on their taxes and get it back. I said, oh, that's all I need to hear.
I know that's right.
Y'all are scamming us. So you're giving to the Lord and getting it back in your tax income tax. Okay. All right. Okay. I see what's going on here. How are you going to give to the Lord and then get a tax refund?
Right. I'm going to stop saying that. I'm start thinking that it's scamming. It's not scamming. It's just a reality that they're creating, and they're creating this reality that in order to get something, they have to give money.
Yes.
That's your
but
concept.
Your blessings
That's
are
your concept.
transactional.
If that's your concept, hey, if it works for you, who am I to? Hey, do you, boo? Do you? Ain't none of my business. This is not how I'm going to work. I realize that's not necessary. That's not necessary for me. So I have changed my mindset around that. But we're going to go to Cheryl. The case histories, Neville Goddard. I mean, you could share whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah, this, I enjoyed reading this part. I always like success stories, whether, it's in the book or like, Manifesting Wednesdays or, people share their stories because one, it just really makes it more and more the truth that this works and, kind of helps get it into my subconscious that this is how reality really works, so I enjoyed this part of the book, and I really did. I also like the penthouse story, and I don't know, like Neville shares a story about how he and his wife were looking for an apartment in New York, so I'm wondering if this is his story. But it's one of my favorite stories that I always remember because when he and his wife were looking for an apartment, they had an amount that they wanted to spend. And the apartment that they loved was more than what they wanted to spend. But then, they went ahead and took it. And his wife was kind of cheeky with him, like, your law didn't work this time, did it? And, Neville didn't say anything, and he just kept assuming he was paying the rent that he wanted to pay. And then the story is like a few months later, the management comes to him and they tell him that they've been overcharging him, and for, to kind of reimburse him, they like offer to paint and wallpaper the apartment for free.
I think I remember that story too.
Yeah. So the reason I really connect with that is because, you know, and what shows up in the 3D world, it's training the mind to not be reactive to that. And that can be sometimes a challenge, like, because at least for me, some problems or so-called problems seem bigger than others, right? So I can make, but with God, it's all the same effort, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that story is just a really good reminder to me, like, don't allow, like, stay true to your assumption, and I had a situation this week. My daughter's here visiting from New York, and she's going to a wedding in Italy in April, and she lost her passport. So she's still considered a Connecticut resident. So, she brought all her paperwork, and we were going to get everything done this week. And when I went to make some copies for her of her ID, I noticed that her middle name on her license didn't match the middle name on her birth certificate. So it was, we had a huge blizzard Sunday to Monday. So Tuesday I ran over to DMV and it was dead. So, we got that taken care of. But the problem was we didn't get the physical hard copy of her license. So she can't get her passport yet. So I love the story of the penthouse because through this whole process, I keep reminding myself. And I like to think, too, that everything leading up to this is working out the way it's supposed to because, in a perfect world, it wouldn't matter the spelling of her ID didn't match her birth certificate. Like if I had that amount of faith, I know that it would work out, but I'm still not master like that. But I can believe that all these obstacles and the way, or they're not all, just a few obstacles, and the way they're working out where she's here physically in Connecticut, there was no people at the DMV, we got in and got out, like this is all working out for the highest good. And so, I've seen some of the teachers, talk about like fear is just faith. I think Joseph Murphy says this, fear is faith in, the opposite, it's the faith in what you don't want. So, the penthouse story in particular, and also one of my favorite Neville stories is, the Broadway ticket story, where,
Oh yeah.
because really, the guy got up and went to get Broadway tickets that were sold out, without even an ounce of concern about it, So I'm trying, I'm working on right now, like just, kind of staying in, like, no matter what happens, like if I stay focused on the outcome that I want, it will happen. And so I feel like these stories, are really just great reminders to how I have to keep my mentality and not even just my thoughts, but we talked last week about, what was the righteousness? It's about embodying. It's not just about thinking about it. It's about feeling that it's true. And so the timing of the penthouse story was really good for me. And just a reminder that mastery over what appears in the 3D world is what's most important at this time, like because I feel like I've gotten like the basics, but again, things are like old thoughts that I've had, old fears, if they or sometimes, like Neville said, if you want a new job, you might get fired from so like not allowing, like not reading like tea leaves, like what's happening in the 3D world, like just allowing things to unfold. So, I just love the stories because it's helping me at this time because, I could get really anxious about what's going to happen with my daughter's passport, but I've been able to I have been able to see like everything's really happening in a way I think it's supposed to, and trusting that.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
Love it. Yes. Yep. Drawing on these stories and recognizing that once you identify as that person, things Your doing flows from that. Your behavior comes from your beliefs. I know people take action and they try to make the action the belief. The belief causes the action. The action has no power. The action, which is the effect, is the result of the cause. And the cause is what? Who do you say that I am? That's your identity. That's your embodiment. That's your state. That's your occupancy. That's your dwelling place. Hello, Teddy. Welcome, welcome. You can unmute.
Hi.
Don't forget to
Yeah, I had to
double
un- yeah, I
tap the
had to
screen.
yeah, I had to unmute it. Good morning. Yes, again, I want to start out. Let me preface this by saying the power of awareness is powerful. But for some reason I just realized that I must have had a moment of ignorance was bliss. And I'm gonna tell you why. Not one time, even though I will admit the word testimony, when I got that word, and I got it from when I was in the church, but not one time did I ever associate it with, I mean, mentally and subconscious, I didn't ever associate it with a struggle or I was put under a test, even though the word itself, the etymology is from a test, but never did my mind think that. What I guess I was saying and didn't realize it, I was giving an account of a manifestation. And so that's why, honestly, I never felt a struggle or whatever. That's why I just want to share that with you. But moving forward, because I heard you, because I've used that word several times, because in fact, I did learn it when I was in the church, but I just thought it was saying, let me tell you, how good my God was to me, not associated with nothing else. Okay. The other thing is, oh my God, when it comes to his stories, it has gotten to a point where things happen where they become so natural. Well, with myself, I know, and I'll just stop and smile because I don't know. It's like you just stop now and you just smile. It used to be a time where it was really a ooh, type moment because it seems so, like you say, miracle. But now you just kind of stop and smile. And I got two things I want to share. One of them I remember back, and it comes back now, but when I was in the Christianity realm, used to listen to a pastor called Miles Monroe. And I remember him giving a story one time, like an example of how faith works. And it really ties right on into Neville's. It really does. He said, you know how you drive past I'm giving an example, like you drive past a big empty lot where they've, raised everything and it's gone. And it's a big old sign, a great big billboard of a picture. And the picture is the picture of this new subdivision. And you see everything. You see the houses, you see the shop, you see everything. And he said, that right there is finished. When you look at that, he said, it is finished. He said, that's it right there. He said, the individuals saw that in their minds. They had, first of all, they wanted it. He said, they wanted this subdivision. That's where it started. He said, and they saw it. And they sat down and they drew it out as they saw it and they got it up there. He said, and then you just keep going by, driving by, and one day you ride by and there it is in person. There is that same picture that was on the billboard. And I remember that. I just remember that, bringing it back up to today, how that whole thing works. But I'm going to share one quick thing, and I'm trying to make it a short thing because it's such part of a great big manifestation story. But I was trying to, I was in the midst of needing money and I needed it immediately because I couldn't take the car off the lot. The car in itself was a manifestation, but like I said, we're going to say that story maybe because it can get lengthy, but I needed the money for the insurance at the time. I couldn't even know, this is years ago. I couldn't take it off the lot, of course, without car insurance. Well, the mere fact that I was even able to be okayed for the automobile was great. And I was all excited because up until this point, I was in a state of total bliss and excitement about everything that had manifested within a matter of 2 weeks because I was stayed focused on what I needed, this car. So I left out of the place. I was with a friend, and all while I was in the car, I was going, I got to have it. I must find a way to get this insurance. And I was going, Okay, I'm going to ask my dad. I'm going to ask my aunt. I was like, but I got to have it. That's all I know. We got to have this insurance money. We got back to my house. And as I'm opening, as I'm putting the keys in the door of my apartment, my phone was ringing. Now, when I answer the phone, I'm not literally focused on who's on the other end because my mind is nowhere else but I need this money for this car insurance to get my car off this lot. My brand new car, matter of fact. Make a long story short, when I answered the phone, I said hello. And it was an employee that I used to work with at another company. But I was with Marriott at the time, but I was at another division. And so, make a long story short, she says, hi, my name Theodora. She says, Theodora. I said, yes. She says, listen. She says, I called because I had taken a day off from my office downtown. She says, I called, but you were off today. I said, oh, yeah. I was listening to her. I was like, oh, yeah. I had business. Now, what's up? She was like, well, I just want you to know we have a check here for you. And I said, you have a check there for me? She said, yeah. She says, I don't know. I said, you do? And I said, you do? She says, yes. And I said, oh. I said, well, okay. I said, how much? She said, well, I don't know. It's an envelope. I said, well, could you open it for me? Do you mind? I just want to know. And she opened it. And it was like about twice as much of what I needed. Literally, I'm getting chills. It was about twice as much of what I needed for the insurance. Now, what I love about this story is I had a witness. I didn't need one, but I had a witness who had been with me through this whole day. They picked me up, as a matter of fact, because my car was kind of out. My old car was not that doable. So anyway, I went, oh my goodness. I was like, are you serious? I said, where is it from? She says, oh, I don't know. And I said, okay. So she said, and the matter of fact, this was out like, this particular account was far away, like about 30 miles in another city, Wixom. And she said, do you want me to send it by the guy he lived in, we used to carpool together, called Beauclair. She said, you want me to send it by Beauclair? You want to come pick it up? I said, no, send it by Beauclair. That would save me. So that's a testimony. I'm telling you, just that quick, just that fast. Now, I got to wrap it up. Now, this is part you guys can figure this out because I've never figured it out because I don't think about it no more. Okay. I got the check. I realized what they said it was from, but none of it added up to why I should have it. And that is real. Okay, so I'm on the phone about 2 to 3 months later. I had to call the corporate office to find out and retrack a person's check who they had moved and it got lost. I guess they got lost in the mail. They never got it because they moved from where the check was sent, blah, blah, blah. So I had all this pertinent information. You have to give them everything. You have to give them a lot of information. And they retraced it and they said, okay, no, this particular check have not been cashed. We'll put a stop hold on it and tell this individual we will reissue them a new check at the new address. Well, here I go. Well, listen. While we're on the phone, do you mind me asking you? I just wanted to know. I said, do you mind me asking you about this check? I received the check as well, and I would kind of like to know, if you don't mind what it's from. And she said, well, same pertinent information I had to give. And she's looking and she says, I don't see it. I said, seriously? She said, no, I don't have any, trace for this. I said, not even when I cashed it. She said, no, we don't. I started laughing. Guys, I started laughing so hard. I thought, no, I really did. I was gone. I was just, my heart. I said, that's okay. I said, that's okay. And I said, now mind you, this was during the time I wasn't deep in it, but I wasn't all the way out of that state of mind. But this is what I said. I said, oh, that's okay. It was just the will of God. It was the will of God. Don't worry about it like that. And she said, and I'll never forget this, her last words when we hung up to say, have a good day. She said, I need some of that will. And that was it. And that's a true story that I'm sharing with you guys. Yep. So yeah, it's real. That's all I can say is it can't get no realer. Yep.
We love stories like that. It does something.
Yep, it's true.
Something to the spirit, because this law is no respect of persons. When you decide that it's yours, heaven and earth will have to move to make sure that it is.
I mean, immediately.
Yep.
That's what happened that time. Not always, but still on time.
The world has to collapse, converge on itself to make sure you get what you say belongs to you. Yep. Love it. Beautiful. All right, so we're gonna go to Mia. Mia's up next. Thank you for sharing, Teddy. We loved it.
So I really like I love the book, and I've listened to it a zillion times in my sleep and when I'm awake. So I guess the last chapter, if I wasn't mistaken, like the persistence part, goes into like the case studies. And this book was pretty much just reiterating over and over, so you really just have a really clear understanding of how to be aware and to kind of be in control of your awareness. So I love the idea of just being persistent in your thoughts and what you want and your desires, and really just focusing on that. Because I know for me, that is something that it's like a muscle I'm trying to work out and focus on. And, just being in a world that's pulling on your attention from so many different spaces, you really have to persist and be in a lot of control of your awareness and where you stand, and not be so focused on the 3D. And even I was talking with Toyia about, being kind of like delusional and not even like delusional, like it's stupid, but in the sense that my desires are the only ones that matter. And what's going on in the outside world doesn't matter. I don't care what you see. I don't care what it says. I don't care. I don't care if I got $2 in my bank account. All my bills are paid. And it may seem delusional to the outside world of people who don't have that power. And I'm learning that in the past, when I encountered people who thought like this, they seemed to look crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't imagine thinking that powerful of yourself in your life and being that empowered in the world that you live in. So it almost seems like you crazy as hell. Really? Okay. But now you know that it's extremely powerful, and it takes a lot of personal discipline and power to even be that person. It's easy to fall into the trap of the 3D and let life circumstances dictate where you move. So I thought it was really important. I just really love that. And then the case studies just kind of put everything into play. And I listened to a lot of videos that kind of bring all this. I listened to Power Awareness, Power of Subconscious, and a lot of different things. And I love the idea of sometimes your imagination is key. And just being as children, thinking about and becoming who you want to be. And no one else can tell you anything different. I am Spider-Man. I am this. And I don't care what you say. Okay. And it's just being very steadfast in who you are. And, in being like this and interacting with the world, that can sometimes feel like a threat to the other people because it's different, and you're not easily manipulated. People can't knock you off your pedestal of who you're going to be. And that's a strong, powerful way to be in this world. And I like being that way. But we talk about the ego and how sometimes it teeters on arrogance and ego, but it's like, look, I gotta be this. This is how I'm gonna make.
We talk about the ego.
Well, we say that ego is a good thing. Ego. Well, we say the ego is a good thing. Having a big ego is a good thing.
Right. Okay. From that perspective, but right. That's not where you were going with it, though.
Well, how
ego.
Well, I see ego as a positive thing.
Right.
But the world sees ego as a negative thing.
Well, so does some spiritual people too. Right. Yeah. The ego is to be embraced. Is to be upheld. Is to be uplifted. Is to be united. It's because it's all you. There's no separation.
And from a psychological standpoint, your ego is where consciousness is. That's where the decision making, your ego and your consciousness are at the same level. Your super ego and your subconsciousness are at the same level. And your id and your unconsciousness are at the same level.
Okay.
In psychological standpoints. Okay. If we're talking about like id, ego, and super ego, that ego is at the consciousness level.
Okay.
And that's where you make your decision. That's the executive.
Okay.
If they call the ego the executive decision maker.
Right.
And in psychology, they call that super ego. They say that's where your morals, your beliefs, your values lie.
Okay, so that's like the soul.
Yes. So your
Okay,
super ego is where your subconscious is.
that's God.
Yes, ma'am. So psychology is so closely tied to it. That's why I love teaching. I'll be dipping and dabbing and dipping and dabbing and dipping and dabbing when I be up there lecturing. But
Because all is mind.
all is mine.
All is mind. The
All is
Bible's a psychology book. It's
it is.
reminding you that your God is mind, and it's just we the way we explain it, we make it be different levels, but it's still all one, right? It's different aspects of the one, right?
Absolutely.
The consciousness, the super consciousness, and the subconscious. It's all one mind, just different aspects of the one mind.
Absolutely. And unfortunately now, if you now these are Freud's concepts. Freud came up with the ego, the superego, and the id. Now, Mr. Freud said that id is that basic instinct bad part of you. And that's the part I don't agree with you, because there's no part of me that's bad.
That would be what he would be instead of saying devil, Satan, demons. He's calling it the id, right?
Yes, that's the
And
lower,
this is
that's
gonna
your
be right.
lower self.
And the Bible would call it the carnal mind, which would be the part of you that operates from the five senses,
Exactly.
right? And that's the part that people try to demonize, right? And try to
Mhm.
say that's wrong. It's only wrong if you say it is. It depends on how you're utilizing the five senses, how you're using the carnal mind,
Absolutely.
right?
And Freud said that that's the biggest part of your mind. He said
Really?
that's, yes, he says the tip of the iceberg, that's where that term comes from. The tip of the iceberg, your consciousness is only that 10%. Your ego and your consciousness is 10%. Your super ego subconscious is a little layer right below the surface. And your unconscious or your id is 90%. That's who you really are. And that's the part that comes out.
The Bible would say that the 90 is God.
Yep.
And the 10 is that the part of you, the logical, which he's calling the ego, or the part of you that is the executor,
Right.
The you know, the operant power. Because the operant power is that ego part, is the logical part. It is what's selecting, right? What you're
making the
going to
choice.
experience, right? It's making the choices. However, the super conscious or God state is what causes it to come forth.
Yes.
Right? Because the ways of God is not known to the logical mind, man. Right? So that's why we're not to lean onto our own understanding. This is where that script should be applied.
Yep.
When it comes to manifesting your desires, like what Teddy was telling us about how she just knew she had to have this money for the insurance. Her rational mind would not have been like, oh yeah, you know, it's going to be a check at the job that you worked many eons ago, and that job is going to bring you a check, and that's going to be how you're going to pay for the insurance. There's no way that she would have had come up with that in her mind. That's the ways of God that is past finding out. Because what? The check was already there, right? The check was already there.
Yep.
You just had to make claim to it.
She just had to match the energy of it coming to her. You know, people talk about matching energy. You better match the energy of what's going to come to you, and just kind of letting things flow. And I really love that.
So what does that mean when you say match the energy? How does someone match the energy?
And how I think about something like that is kind of being in alignment with my desires and not trying to make things happen.
Break it down even further. What does being in alignment mean?
In a state of being.
What does that mean? Talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old. What's the state of being?
If I want to live in a loving world, if I want to be more disciplined, if I want something, I need to be that. So I need to exude that person, right? So whatever thing I want, I need to live like I have everything I need. So let's say I'm short on money and I believe that I'm abundant and everything's going to work out, right? I need to move on life focused on it's working out. I don't need to worry about anything. I need to live like my bills are paid. I don't need to live in lack. I don't need to talk about how broke I am. I need to live life like it's already done. So most like being in the moment and just being versus focusing on what I don't have. And for me, I'm trying to figure out circumstances where I've done that. Like just kind of just not focusing on the ladder of not getting. because for me, I had a habit of the what if, focusing on the other side of everything. There's always the other side of everything. There's always the what if. And I put way
So
more
that's what I
time.
wanted you to get to.
Yeah.
Matching the energy is focusing on what you want. That's it. It's
Yes.
focusing on what you want.
Yeah.
The tendency is what you just said, to focus on what you don't want.
Absolutely.
You're giving your energy, which is just your attention. That's why I don't like the energy, the alignment. Let's break it down even further. We need the simplest terms so people, a third grader, can understand it, right?
Attention.
Right? A third grader can understand it. You know, when you tell a child, pay attention, they know what you mean.
Yep.
Give me your focus. Put your eyes on me. Look at me. That's what you want. Look at what you want. Talk about what you want. Only think about what you want.
And you know what? You're so right, because when you think about children, I'm telling you, when God said be as children,
That's what he means.
Because
That's
I
what
work
he
with
means.
children, and if they like SpongeBob, I gotta make SpongeBob everything. SpongeBob got to be on their token board. SpongeBob got to, if they want a color sheet, oh Lord, let me go Google some color sheet for SpongeBob, because they want everything SpongeBob. You know, their whole life is encompasses their attention and what they love and what they like. And they're like steadfast on, this is my jam this week. And that's all I want to talk about. And I don't care about anything else. And, you know, we have to really focus our attention on that. And for me, I think that I realized that growing up in a household with very pessimistic parents, that has kind of shaped my outlook. And now I'm more optimistic. It's funny. And my father, I would love to say that my father, 2020, I think it was 2025, was very rough for him. And I remembered that as he got better, I worked with him. I told him, I said, just be positive. Look how good you're doing. And I would speak positivity over him and how well his health was doing. And he started saying, I feel good. Every day he was like, I feel good. I feel really good. And my dad is extremely pessimistic in his past, right? My dad grew up extreme lack. He grew up very, very poor. He picked cotton. His father was a sharecropper. He dealt with desegregation. His bus was flipped over. He was in the news. He was almost killed by people flipping his bus over in desegregation his senior year of high school. He dealt with a lot of trauma and racism. He went to the Navy, one of the whitest branches of military, right after that happened. But, you know, he had positivity in the Navy. But my dad, historically, extremely negative about just the world. And I remember my dad used to saying, you know, church, he grew up Methodist. He would go to church now and then. He believed in God, but he wasn't a big churchy person. And he always worked nights. So he never really went to church with us in the morning. And if he did, he slept through the church. But he always was like, I can't be like Jesus. Jesus is too perfect. It's too hard to live up to that.
That's the whole purpose of religion, to give you something that is hard to get to make it in an impossible feat, an impossible task, which is why you will always need a savior.
And you'll always feel like you're not good enough, right? Think about, because in any relationship, let's say it's a parent. If your parent was like God, you would never feel like you were good enough to please them.
But that's what they make sure they tell you. God is very displeased with his creation. God mad as hell. That's why he had to send his only begotten son to die for you. Because what?
Well, I guess that's
what we doing?
Maybe
he mad as hell. He can't stand. He's repented. He's regretted.
Yes.
He ever made man. That's why he had to flood the earth, right? Like,
well, maybe that's why we on round 30.
Like, what are we doing? That's the whole crux of Islam, Christianity. That's what they teach. Like, God mad at you all the time. God is always mad. He just mad, just full of wrath. He just can't wait to pour out his wrath upon his creation.
I agree. And then people talking about, I fear God. I bet. But, and you know, and my father, after my mother passed, my dad just stopped doing everything because my mom helped him a lot with like his medications, even though she was disabled. And he just got really sick and spiraled and ended up in hospital. But now, you know, he speaks more positivity over himself. And every day I see him, he's like, I feel good. And every now and then he's like, I have a doctor's appointment. I hope it's going to be okay. I said, Daddy, it's going to be okay. Look how good you're doing. You're doing amazing. And my dad used to say, I'm scared. I hope I live past 70. My dad didn't live past 70. And here he is. He got extremely sick, year 71, 72. And here he is, 73, thriving. He's doing so well. And I thought my daddy was gone last year. I ain't gonna lie. But he is thriving. And I know that part of that is his self-concept and how he speaks about himself and his health and his life. And, you know, I've never seen my dad speak that well about himself. And my dad is a person, like, if he makes a mistake and he drops something, he's like, oh, I'm so stupid. He'll say things like that. That's the kind of person, you know, his thinking. So that he's a exact reference kind of to that way of thinking and how powerful, how changing your thinking can change your life from the inside out.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so that's all I wanted to share. I just think it's really just magical. And I think that we have lost our magic and lost knowing that we're magical. And they tell you magic is fake, magic isn't real, magic is witchcraft. No, we are magical as hell. And the miracles of the Bible are miracles that we can create. Not literally, but spiritually and in our own mind. And you can heal yourself just by the way you think.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's all I wanted to share so far.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, Key, you're up next. Good morning, friend. How are you, beautiful?
Hey, friend, how are you? I'm good though.
Yes.
And hi to the rest of my friends on the panel. But you know what? I read case study 1 and I was like, ooh, okay. Like for me, this was like a perfect example of what I'm going through in my real life. Because if you notice, the soldier, he didn't try and make the colonel change. He didn't focus on the colonel. Nope. He changed himself. Because we know most people will focus on that colonel and him changing his mind. But it was like, no, the colonel was never the cause. Am I saying it right, colonel? Because, you know, that spelling didn't trick me a few times. But I'm like, what? But anyway, the colonel was never the cause. And it's just a perfect example and a reminder that instead of trying to influence the external, instead change the only thing we have dominion over, and that's self-concept. So it's like he stopped being a man trapped in the army. He stopped being a victim, and he stopped being someone that was waiting for permission. He was the person that was already home, and that was the shift. So it's like when that soldier, he assumed being home, and he was no longer a soldier in his mind, because you can't be home and you're a soldier. And we know that the outer world can no longer sustain a role that you don't identify with no more. So, right, the soldier changed the state. And then the colonel, he had to reverse his decision. So for me, that's like, stop trying to control others. You move, and then people have to respond differently. And this is a cue you could sing the song, when I move, you move. Anyway.
I did. I was singing. You see my mouth mouthing, and I just didn't say it out loud, but I was mouthing it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, wait, I need some great song. Toyia been dying to sing. She been dying to drop us some bars.
When I move, you move. Just like that. When I move, you move.
Yeah, Gigi. But we'll see decisions shift, doors will just open. But when you interfere and you try and convince, you know, etc., you're saying the outer world has power. But when you assume, you're saying, nope, I'm the cause. And it's just a reminder to stop fighting, stop arguing, and just surrender to the fulfilled state. So personally, this affected me because I mentioned to you before, I'm in the middle of finishing my basement. And it's at the top of my budget that I wanted to spend. I didn't realize how drastically prices increased. Oh my God. Anyway, so I was afraid of like all these hidden costs and like unexpected costs popping up. I was overcome with anxiety. I was staying up all night worrying, and then I was on my calculator just going crazy, right? So I wasn't doing my work because I'm stressing myself. And my boss was asking me like to, you know, take on extra projects. And I was getting mad. I was like, no, I don't want to do my normal work. right? Like what? I'm trying to figure out this. I'm trying to figure this with basement remodel out. But it got to be so much that I just shut down. But then I handed it over to my higher consciousness, right? And so I did what Neville tell us to do. I envisioned myself in my finished basement. And I was entertaining and I was relaxing. Well, the unexpected costs, they popped up. They started popping up like firecrackers, right? So first I need a survey. And they were like, okay, you'll have to, that's $800. So I calmly just said within myself, I don't need a survey. It's not an addition. It's an existing space. Why would I need a survey, right? So I just went back to imagining my finished basement. Then a few days later, they reversed and said, oh, you don't need a survey, right? So then the next week, you need an architect because you got to have the architect do rendering. And that was like, you need to send us $2,000. So I just said to myself, nope, I don't need no architect. And then I didn't hear anything for like a week. But I just didn't worry. I forgot about it. My friends were like, well, what's going on with the basement? I'm like, oh, yeah, I am remodeling the basement. Like, oh, okay. Because I just was like, whatever. But I did keep envisioning, But anyway, I did get the nudge to follow up. And I asked about the status. And then they just confirmed, no, you don't need an architect. And the permit was approved. So we'll start within a week. So the old identity would have went up to the building department. I would have made all types of phone calls. I would have argued the GC down, right? I probably would have cussed them out trying to stick me with all these unneeded charges. But no, I didn't interfere because I realized that the GC was never the cause. It was my fears. It was my worry that brought this all to life. But once I changed my state, the outer world had to mirror the new state. So,
yeah. That's it. Oh, love it. Oh, love it. The case history that I like the one with the little boy. How, because letting us know that Neville was talking to the grandmother, but clearly he was saying it so simplistically that the little boy was like, that's all I gotta do. I know how I'm getting my dog. Right? Like, you think he playing with his little truck, playing with his little toys, but he listening, and it just sounds it sounds so simple. He's like, that's it? I just have to see myself with my dog, and me playing with the dog is sleeping right next to me, and I'm rubbing it, and I'm just having a good old time with my puppy. And she's like, no, that's not for you. You're not supposed to use this for this. No, your parents already told you no. And it's letting us know it does not matter what the world says. The world is going to tell you no. The world is going to say no. But God always says yes. The promises of God are always yes and amen. And he's like, I'm getting my dog. I don't care what my parents say. I know that once I decide that it's mine, my parents are gonna have to fall in line. Well, of course, he's not saying that, but he's not listening to what his parents are saying. He's like, this is how I get my dog. He was focused. His attention was on that's where his energy went towards him having. But that's how Neville said it really simple, where this little boy could say it, where he could resonate with it. He's like, I know how to imagine. I know how to pretend. I know how to make it feel like that I have my dog. That's all I have to do. I got it. And it happened in a way that was natural, right? A natural way. Oh, we hear these type of things going on, especially back then in that time in history where you would, had to write an essay to get something, to get a prize or something like that, right? And so he writes an essay, and of course his essay wins. And because of the way it happened, right? They were like, now somebody had to gifted him the money, or somebody had to gifted the dog, that would have been a way for them to say no. But this happened in a way that they could not say no, because the world knew, the whole city knew, the whole town knew. He won he was the best writer, he was the best storyteller, whatever it was, right? That story just such a beautiful story. And Neville, the Neville is the person in the army. That story is about Neville, as well as that second story. That's his family.
What? I didn't know that. Okay.
Those first two stories are Neville. Yep. Go
Wow.
ahead.
And
Go ahead.
about that puppy. Oh,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I was
Oh
just
no,
going to
go
say
ahead.
about that story with the dog. Like the way it happened in a way, like they said at the end, that if it would have happened any other way, they would have said no. If someone gifted them the dog, if they found the dog, they would have said no. It happened in a way that it had no choice, right? They couldn't stop it even if they wanted to. And that's just a reminder. Like sometimes when I manifest, I'll say this, I can't even stop this from happening if I wanted to.
Yep.
It's happening. It's done. And that was just like, I love that story too.
Yeah, that happened when my daughter, she needed money for her car insurance, and she ended up getting into a little fender bender, and the guy was like, "Oh, you need to call the police," and she was like, "No," like trying to say, "No, we don't need to do it." No, and then but it had to happen, and then when they got the police involved, when you got to the insurance, then that's when the driver wanted to back out of it. But then it's too late. You can't back out of it, But that was the way for her to get the money that she needed, because she was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. My father, he can fix it." Because it was such a small thing. It was just like a little old small dent in on the side of the car. And he's like, no, we need to call the police. And by him calling the police, she got several $1,000s from the settlement from his insurance. And of course, that paid for more than whatever her insurance would have been for that 6 months or for that year. But go ahead, Gigi.
Hi, good morning, everybody. It's amazing how how we're all in sync. Because I totally resonated with the story about the little boy. I loved that story. I loved all the stories on here. The one about the soldier. And basically all these stories have something in common. They both were about persistence in the wish fulfilled, practically just being in the wish fulfilled by simply just being like the soldier. He every day, he wasn't in the army. He was in his apartment in New York City. He was in his kitchen, in his living room, whatever, and he was in his apartment the whole time. But the little boy story, oh man, it got me because, again, he was talking to the grandmother, and this little boy's playing with his old truck. It goes to show that kids are listening. Even if it doesn't appear that they're not listening, they are. He's playing with his little truck, and he's hearing everything that Neville is saying. And like you just said, like he said, "Oh my, that's it. That's all I got to do. I can do that." And it goes to show that regardless of what's going on, I mean, the grandmother said no, the dad said no, the mom's like, "No, you're never gonna have a puppy." Everybody around was saying, "No, no, 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 no." And it's like he had his little hands in his ears going, "La la 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 la. Look, I have a puppy. Look, I have a puppy. I have a dog. I have a dog." And he went to bed every day, pretending that he was petting it, and the specific dog he wanted, which was a collie. That's the dog he wanted. So he even manifested his specific dog that he wanted. And it had to happen in a way that it happened because the parents and everybody had no choice but to say okay, because in front of all these people, after he won the prize, and it's going to be in the news and all this kind of stuff, that the person's going to say, okay, well, gee, we're not going to keep the dog. They're not going to make themselves look bad in front of their hometown, and especially, oh my, really, you're going to take a dog away from a little boy? Seriously? And it's funny how God, superpower, universe, how it works everything out to benefit you, how it works out on your behalf. Just like, when Teddy was telling the story on how she got the insurance money. And I mean, I've had experiences like that, where my car was towed. This was like back in the early 2000s. And I had no idea where I was going to get the money to get the car out. And the moment I just said, I have the money, I'm getting the car out. I have the money. I'm getting the car out. And not worry about it. I just put myself in already having the money and already the car being out, regardless of everything showing me that the car is towed. It's not in my possession. At the time, I didn't have the money. Didn't matter. And my godmother's neighbor, somebody that I did not know, gives me the money. Just says, here's the money so you can get your car out and pay me back anytime you want. So what I've learned from this, and especially from this little boy, out of all the stories, this one really I resonated more with it, because everybody was pretty much coming at this little kid that you can't have a dog. You're never going to get a dog. It's impossible for you to have a dog. We don't want a dog, period. Even the grandma's like, you don't want a dog. You know, that's it. We're not having a dog. No, stop asking for that. You can't have that. What do you mean, I'm listening in audio. I'm talking to I paused it to talk to the grandmother. Who are you to tell this little boy that he can't have a dog? I mean, this is years ago. They're probably gone by now. And I'm talking to the grandmother. Who are you to tell this little boy he can't have a dog? Why? Right. This little boy? God is not a respecter of persons. He's not, God is not a respecter of persons, age, nothing. If the little boy's like, that's it. He grasped it. You didn't. Pardon my French. Your old ass in it, and his little butt did, but your old ass didn't grasp it. So, and yet he stayed focused. He kept his eye on the prize. He stayed with it, no matter what was going on. He kept his eye on the prize.
Absolutely.
And it's taught me, it's showing me, and everybody else's stories as well, and I appreciate everybody else's stories, that forget what's going on in the 3D. Keep your eye on the prize. Be that person. He was being the person with the dog. He had the dog already, because in reality, all creation is finished. He already had the dog. Mm-hmm. And this, he persisted in it. Same thing with the story about the guy with the building, the family. That's the second one. That he comes from a family of like, there are 10 kids, like 9 boys and 1 girl.
Yeah, and, that's Neville's family. Yep.
Yeah, and then he stood gazing at the building, imagining that he saw his name on the building, and instead of the name that was on there, he saw his family name on there. And it took about 2 years, but somebody, saw the business that the family was in and just gave them the money so that they can get the property, and it goes to show that, in a lot of these stories, just so you know, because I know that on this community, not present party excluded, but when you scroll on TikTok and stuff, they're always talking about this got to happen in 2 days. It's got to happen in 3 days. It's got to happen in 24 hours. Well, my little homeboy didn't get his puppy until 2 weeks. This guy didn't get his building until 2 years later.
Yep.
The guy didn't get discharged, honorably discharged from the military until a couple of weeks or whatever later. So, but none of these people were focused on how, on when, on I got to have it in 3 days. I got to have it now. Where is it? No, they were 100% focused on already attaining what they desired. That's what alignment means. I wish I wouldn't use the word alignment because it's so confusing. Why not just say how it says it in the previous chapter? Just be. That's your alignment. What's your alignment? To be. That's it. So this little boy was having the dog. The soldier was in his apartment, honorably discharged. This guy was the guy with the name on the marquee in the building. The people that were moving into the penthouse apartment, that's a good one too. Though they were about to buy a penthouse apartment without, they were going to kind of like in a way settle for one, and yet in their imagination they still kept that they had the exact penthouse that they wanted. Turns out the penthouse that they were looking for was in their building, which they happened to like their building anyway, for the price that they wanted, with everything that they wanted. So when the moment you go with that flow of already having it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't, pardon my French, you give a shit of what's going on around you.
Mm-hmm.
It makes its way to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like it says, heaven and earth has to bend to your will.
Yeah.
And I love what Latoxic said earlier. I mean, when, you know, about you get to tell God what to do. Yeah, that was a new one for me too. I was like, what? The guy that's holding a lightning rod, you know, the guy that created us all, I can tell him what to do? No. I'm like, wait a minute. And there's scriptures. By the works of my hands, command ye me. What? I get to command you? Okay, I'm going to command you then.
What you want?
Exactly.
Jesus on the mainland. Tell them what you want him to.
No, yeah.
But thing is, people are begging, bargaining, and pleading for what they want, as opposed to commanding, decreeing, and declaring what they want.
Right. Because we've been taught to beg and to plead, and we've been taught that. Even though we're
people think they have to bargain, right? With God, if you do this, I'll do that. If I give this,
I'll do that.
Give that. You know, if I give 10K, I need you to drop 100K on me, right? You know, they're trying to bargain with God.
When it's really like, and this is a theme song of this book club today, is when I move, you move, right? What does that mean? When I'm focused on already having the desire, he's focused on you having the desire. When I'm already focused on when I'm being that being, he's like, okay, yeah, you're being that being. When I move, you move, just like that, and it's true. You know. So I mean, I loved this chapter, and I must have read this chapter like I think like 40 times on my hike because I just loved it. And I especially loved the story about the little boy. And we are to be like children. Mm-hmm. Kids don't care. I mean, when a kid has their mind set on something, just like Mia was talking about, you know, SpongeBob, when a kid has their mind set on something, there's no changing it. Especially if they're like digging their heels, if that's the thing that they want. I got to share a quick story. I was reading online about this church in Hawaii, and they were on this beautiful island, and it's a great view of the horizon and the water, except this was this oogly mountain that was just blocking that view. And so everybody did not like that mountain, but they were like, oh, what can we do about it? So then at Sunday school, the teacher was teaching Mark 11:24 to these little kids. And the little kids got together, you know, outside, and they said, hey, remember what the teacher taught us at, you know, in Sunday school? Let's command that mountain to be cast into the sea. Because, you know, in the chapter says, if you are to say unto this mountain, be gone, be cast into the sea, and do not doubt, but believe these words you have spoken, you shall have whatsoever you say. So every day, and, you know, because their little school was also by where they had the Sunday school, at recess, these kids would get together and they would speak to that mountain, be gone, be cast into the sea. And they point at it, be gone, be cast into the sea. So the teacher comes over and she's like, what are you doing? And the little boy is like saying, well, we're telling that mountain to be gone, be cast into the sea. And she's like, why? That's what you taught us in Sunday school, right? It says that if we were to tell a mountain to be gone and be cast into the sea, well, we want that mountain gone. And the teacher was like, well, you know, and the little boy's like, wait a minute. That's what the Bible says. God doesn't lie. If you don't believe it, that's fine. But we're going to tell that mountain to be gone and be cast into the sea. Okay, fast forward. They had closed the school for about a couple of days. And then about a couple of days later, or maybe a couple of weeks later, I don't remember, when they went to the school, the mountain was gone. What had happened was that a hotel was getting ready to build, you know, their franchise there, the hotel there. And that mountain would be blocking the view of the people staying in the hotel. So in order to, you know, charge for the beautiful view of the horizon and the water and all that kind of stuff, they had to tear down that mountain. And they blew up that mountain, and that mountain was cast into the sea. So it goes to show when the faith, I was like, wow, these are kids. and that commanded a mountain to be gone and be cast into the sea. Now, God doesn't say in the Bible, oh, I'm just going to pick up that mountain and disintegrate it into the sea, or I'm just going to use my big, gazillion ton fist and knock it into the sea. No. It can happen in many ways. I mean, sometimes the ocean could swallow the mountain. Who knows? But the point is, they didn't care how that mountain was going to be gone. They just saw that mountain gone. So when you realize that you already have that desire, everything around you has no choice but to bend to the will of the thing that you already desire, as if you already have it. So I'm landing my private jet right there.
Love it. It's as simple as a decision. Once you decide, and however you have, whatever you need to do to get yourself to accept the reality of it, right? I know, I was talking to my husband. I was like, okay, when we came into this knowledge, just like when I went to church, I assumed I didn't already know, right? So I'm thinking I have to learn something, right? And so I realized when you come with that mindset that the people that have been doing it all the time, they have some knowledge that you don't, you start taking on what they would do. And then you discover that it's just moving you more away from self, because these people will start telling you about all these 10,001 techniques. But when you sit back and you start to take knowledge of self and you sit with self, you come to realize, oh, I've been manifesting the whole time. And I wasn't doing none of these techniques. I wasn't doing any of this.
All right.
I was just deciding that I could have something. I wasn't worried about the how, and I wasn't concerned of how long it would take. I just decided that it would, and I just knew that it would happen. Like when I wanted to get married, I knew that I would get married. I didn't say, well, I got to be married by within a year. I got to be married in 6 months. I just knew that I would be. When I decided when I was going to Dubai that, prior to that, yes, I was saying I wanted to be more comfortable on the airplane. I wanted to be more comfortable on the airplane. But then once I decided, this is a 12-hour flight, ain't nobody got time to be uncomfortable on this airplane. Like, it's going to be. And then I just never thought about it anymore. And even when the thought may seem like it would, I would just get my mind busy on something else. I was just not going to give my attention to anything other than, once I had dropped that seed in the fertile soil of my belief, once I had decided without, like I said, you decided when there's no other option, when there is no other possibility, there is no what if or but or maybe or and. There is no conjunction function. There is none. You just, no, that's it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is what it is. Whenever you decide that's what it is, that's what it will be. The thing is, have you decided that that's what it is? We let so many people tell us how it should go, right? And so when I started my platform wasn't about me telling you what to do. My platform was you realizing who you already are. Helping you to be like, yeah, I got this. I can do this. I don't need nobody else. I don't need to pay no coach. I don't need to get no e-course. I don't need any of that. I just need to know myself. I just need to know who I am, and that I'm God. That when I say I shall have a thing, that's it. God said it, so that settles it. And who's God saying it? I am. I am God. I am the one that decrees and declares and decides what happens. Now, the personality known as Toyia don't make shit happen. She don't make nothing happen. She's just the one deciding what it is she wants to happen, because the happening is already done. So basically, I'm just choosing from the buffet, from the smorgasbord of the infinite reality that is, saying, yes, I want that. And then I just sit back and allow it to show itself to me. Allow myself to experience it without me trying to convince somebody of it, make somebody believe it, help somebody know it. Then none of that is necessary. as long as I know it does not matter what the world thinks. And so that's when we have to get to that state that it doesn't matter what other people think. And yes, is that the work to remain in your lane and stop looking at other people's lane? Well, they doing this and they doing that. And I have a tendency to do that. I don't know, I'm at fault. I do it. I'm getting back to mind your business. Just mind your business. Stay in your lane. How someone else is manifesting and creating is none of my business. I gotta keep reminding myself of that, because I do veer to the left and I do veer to the right, and I do start talking about, well, they doing this and they doing that and they creating this and they creating. It's none of my business. It's none of my in I want to realize that if I am shining a light on how someone else is creating, it's for me to take notice, like, is that how I want to create? Is that beneficial to me? Is that uplifting to me? Is that how I want to see my world? Is that the reality I want to create? And then if it's not, let me get back on my lane. Let me get back on my spot. Let me get back on my landmark. Let me mind my business. The business that pays me. And the business that pays me is my mind. That's it.
It's what resonates with you. It's what works for you. It's no right way of doing it.
Exactly. Yep. And so if the vision board resonates with you, do the vision boards. If the 369 resonates with you, do the 369. If having crystals and sage in your apartment and doing tea leaves and astrological signs, if that resonates with you, if you need the design and the human design and all of that, if that's what floats your boat, do it. If that's what floats your boat. And so we have Kevin. Grand Rising, Kevin. How are you?
Hi, Kev.
Grand Rising all. You know, this is one of my favorite parts of the book. I think ever since I've been on your live and talking on the live, I've given multiple manifestation stories that's been in my life. It's the awareness of your ability that you're manifesting everything in your life can be a great, great blessing. And without knowing it, it can be a curse. So, the story I'm going to give you, I said this when I first came on in contact with this live almost about a year ago. But this story has multiple lessons in it, in the story. And I'll share with you. About 15 years ago, I had watched the DVD. Some people, if you're old enough, you know what a DVD is. I've watched a DVD of The Secret, and made such a profound impact that I made it mandatory viewing, or either read the book, which I also did, by my kids. Because that understanding, I knew they would need that in order to propel them through life in the path of least resistance. So my oldest son, who's now 30, and he was 15 years old at the time, I had him watch it, and after he watched it, he was so confused. He was like, "Dad, I don't understand this." And I was like, "Well, what don't you understand?" And I said, "Well, I don't understand how this works." It's the law of assumption, the same thing everyone has been, that's in the book, been reading about. I said, "Well, your mom wants me to get a blender, and Target was just right down the street." I said, "Hop in the car, we can talk about it. Come with me while we go get this blender." So we get in the car, get in the garage, leave the garage. And he said, "So how does this work, Dad?" I said, "Well, whatever you think you get whatever you think. He said, okay. He said, well, can you give me an example? And I said, no, you give me an example. And he said, well, I don't know what example to give you. That's like, it could be anything. It don't matter what it is. Whatever you think is going to happen, that's what's going to happen. He said, like what? I said, like anything. He said, well, I can't think of anything right now. I said, well, let's do this. I said, what do you think a blender should cost? Now, bear in mind, he's 15 years old. He's a kid. He had no idea what things cost. I said, how much you think a blender costs? He said, I don't know. I said, well, guess. He said $7. Now, when he said $7, my knee-jerk reaction is, you got to be kidding me. You can't buy no real blender for $7. And did I believe we were going to get a blender for $7? Hell no. Because I feel like I live in the real world and he living in some imaginary world. And at the time, I'm thinking the imaginary world, that don't exist. The real world, you're going to pay about, for a good blender, probably about, between 40 and $50, depending on type of blender, which is what I expected to pay. So I said, okay. Even though it made absolutely no sense to me at all, I said, okay. I said, well, it's probably not going to be a good example. That's what I said to myself. I didn't discourage his answer, but I said, well, this is probably not going to be a good example. So we get in Target, and we locate the aisle where they have all the different blenders. And I said, well, you look down that end, the opposite end of where I'm looking, and you see if you can find a good blender for your mom. So he picks up a blender and brings it back to me. He said, what about this one? I said, oh, it only has 3 buttons on it. I said, your mom's not going to like that. She wants something, a little more elaborate. I said, put that back. So he goes and put it back. And he comes back to me with another blender. And it's got, a whole bunch of buttons on it, multiple buttons. I said, every time he brought it to me, I found something wrong with it. I said, well, that's not a name brand. That's a more generic. I've never heard of that. That's probably not going to be a good blender. It's got to be like a Hamilton Beach or a Proctor. So I'm trying to tell him what would be best, right? Even though I'm not an expert on blenders either. So I said, keep looking. Put that back. Keep looking. So he goes down. He grabs a blender. And it's a Hamilton Beach. And it's got all these different buttons on it. It's a really good, look like a really good, elaborate blender. I said, oh, this looks pretty good. I said, how much is it? He said, I don't know. I said, well, where'd you get it? He said, down here at the end of the aisle. So we went down in the aisle and tried to look for the price, and we couldn't find the price. I said, no big deal. They got those scanners, those red scanners at the end of the aisle, and you just scan it and it tells you the price. So we scanned it, and it kept showing up as an error. It wouldn't read the barcode. It kept saying unavailable. I was like, that's odd. And we scanned it again, and it's still unavailable. I said, well, we'll go up to the cashier. She'll know what to do, and she'll be able to tell us how much the blender costs. So we stand in the line. We get to the cashier, and she grabs the item, and she scans it. And then she hits a bunch of buttons, and then she scans it again. And she hits some more buttons, and then she scans it again. And by this time, I'm thinking, something's got to be wrong. So then she looks up at me after she scanned it for the third or fourth time. And she said, "Where did you get this blender?" And I'm looking at her like, "Over there where the other blenders are. I just picked it up." And she said, "Well, when I get off of work, I need to go over there and get me a blender." I said, "Why? How much is it?" She said, $6.99. And I turned to my son. His eyes were wide open and his mouth was wide open. And I was just as shocked as he was. And I played it off by saying, "See, that's how it works." Even though I didn't think it was going to be that at all. I had no faith that it was going to be $7. But it's not my belief. You hear me say, "All is mine." The best way, the correct way to say it is, all is your mind. It's your mind. When the people were thanking Jesus for healing them, Jesus wouldn't take credit. He said, "Your faith made you whole." It wasn't me. I was just a conduit. It's your faith. It's your belief. That's what makes the thing come into reality. So it wasn't dad in this story. It was the son who believed. I land my plane.
Beautiful. Love, 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 love. And so if you have more to say, you can. I guess we've finished the chapter. All right. The 8 different case stories. If you have other manifestations that you would like to share, other success stories, testimonials, if that's the
Well, this is
terminology you prefer.
this is not because I have an endless amount of success stories. This is to those who are learning and putting this into practice, that it will normally reveal itself as a coincidence, as a happenstance, as it accidentally revealed itself or showed itself or manifested. But there is no accident. There is no coincidence. There is no coincidence. You are the cause of that which you manifest. I remember, I think I told Toyia how I got my name, and I was about 23 years old, I think I was. So it had to have been 40 years, almost 40 years ago. And I was at an insurance convention in downtown Baltimore. I'm from Baltimore. Um, and it was so crowded, so many people at this convention that you couldn't even walk because it was like a mob of people from all over the country. And I said to myself, if I don't be careful, I'm going to accidentally step on somebody's foot. And as soon as I said that, guess what happened? I stepped on somebody's foot. And all I did was say it in my mind. And when I turned around to profusely apologize, the man whose foot I stepped on, he said, "It couldn't have been helped." He said, "Look at how many people are here." He said, "Don't worry about it. I'm not hurt. I'm not injured." He said, "Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal." I said, "I am so sorry, sir." So by apologizing, he decided to introduce himself to me. And he said, "What's your name?" And I said, "My name is Kevin." He said, "Oh, I can remember that." He said, "My son's name is Kevin." I said, "Oh, great." I said, "Hopefully he's a nice guy." She said, yeah, he is a very nice guy. And I said, what's your name? He said, my name is Matthew. I said, well, Mr. Matthew, it's very nice to meet you. Because he was so much older than me. You don't, in our culture, you don't call somebody by their first name when they're so much older than you, than they're older than your parents are. Out of respect, you got to put some Mr. or Mrs. in front of that name. So I said, Mr. Matthew, it's so nice to meet you. He said, what are you doing right now? He said, well, I was getting ready to go have lunch since we're on break. He said, well, let's have lunch together. I said, man, that's awful nice for somebody I stepped on your foot by accident. He said, I said, okay, let's have lunch together. So we went to the cafeteria area and got something to eat and sat down and started talking. And we tried to get to know each other a little better. He said, are you traveling abroad or are you from this area? I said, no. I said, I'm from Baltimore. I'm a Baltimorean. He said, oh, okay. He's like, so am I. So we kept talking and exchanging pleasantries. And out of the blue, he asked me, he said, let me ask you something. He said, what is your mom's name? And I'm like, okay, where is he going with this? Because I don't know him. I know he don't know me. What has my mom got to do with the conversation? But anyway, I answered. I said, my mom's name is Lila Austin. He said, Lila Mae Austin? I was like, what? Because that's my mom's middle name, May. And I was like, yeah. I said, you know my mom? He says, I know your family. He says, your grandparents lived in the same neighborhood I lived in. I said, get out of here. And then he named my grandparents. I said, yes. And he named the street that they lived on. I said, yes, my grandparents lived on that street. He said, let me tell you something. He said, how well I know your mom. He said, your mom used to babysit my son when she was a little girl. I was like, oh my goodness. I said, my mom told me how I got my name. My mom used to babysit this little boy whose name was Kevin, and she fell in love with him. And she said, if I ever grow up and get married and have a son, I'm going to name him after this little boy, which is how I got my name. Family. It's not a coincidence. You are the cause. All is your mind. I couldn't wait to get home that night. We didn't have cell phones. I couldn't wait to tell my mom
I know, right?
who I met, right? And she goes, you met him? She said, you were named after his son. I said, I know, I told him.
That's so cool.
Crazy, right?
I know. What is it when they say the Lord works in mysterious ways?
We sure do, don't we?
I know,
We
right?
sure do.
We sure do. Because I know sometimes when we talk about God, we're talking about it's sometimes third person, like we're not talking about ourselves, but
Right.
we're talking about our own consciousness. The Father is our own awareness, our own
Yes.
consciousness. That's who the Father is, which man calls God, right? So it's all you, boo. It's all you. It's all you. And like all of the stories on the panel today, everyone's talking and sharing. They realize that they were the cause of whatever they were experiencing.
Correct.
Right? From the basement remodel to the car to the chance meeting of, the father of the namesake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything,
Insurance check. Yep.
Yep. It's all.
You caused all of it. And it's great when you can walk in the awareness of that power. See, You've always had it. You didn't just get it when that thing happened. You've always had that power. You just were not aware. Right? The power of you.
Oh, he probably got a phone call.
More of
Oh,
your awareness.
you're right. And that's why when we hear what you're desiring, you already have. It sounds like a cliche, or what you're desiring is desiring you. It sounds like a cliche, but no, the reason why you want a thing is because the thing already belongs to you. It's already there, and you're just alerting your conscious mind, your logical mind, to its reality. Because the conscious, your awareness already knows it's there. It's already, now you just have to what? Marry that. You have to, this is what people say, call it alignment, right? When you're aligning to what you've already decided is true, right? Whatever you're deciding is true is, I'm wealthy, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I have a beautiful relationship, whatever that relationship looks like. I have beautiful relationships, whatever those look like. I travel, I have more money and I know what to do, whatever that is. Whatever desire is swelling up in your mind, in your imagination, it's because it already belongs to you. Now it's like, okay, this is your conscious mind, this is the desire. Now you have to, because it's already connected to you, right? All you're doing is doing this, putting that puzzle piece together. And how do you do that? What's the key? Faith. Because the logical mind cannot see it. The conscious mind already saw it. It created it. So it knows that it's already there. The logical mind, not so much. Because what's the logical mind work? It works by the five senses. Like, I can't see it, I can't touch it, I can't taste it, I can't hear it. How you telling me it's there when I have no physical evidence? That's what faith is required. Because you don't need faith for stuff you can't see, right? I don't need faith when, people try to use faith. Faith that isn't real, belief that isn't real, because you don't need to believe that the dishes are dirty. You damn right I don't need to believe it, because I can see it. What the fuck? Like, exactly. That's why that doesn't require faith. I don't need faith for shit I can see. I need faith for stuff I can't see. Like, that's the whole point of faith. Is not evident to the five senses. The five senses is not picking up on it. Duh, right? But see, people tie faith to money, and that is the deception. That's the grift. That's the where Kevin had put in the chat earlier. Now you're making your desire transactional, because now you're saying that I have the. Oh, I'm not going to say it's not transactional, but it's not a physical transaction. It's a mental transaction. Because you do have to give up the current state in order to actualize the wanted state. That's the only transaction that's taking place. Is that I'm letting go of this so I can have that. That's the only thing. I'm sacrificing the old so I can embody the new. That's the only transaction. It's a mental transaction. It's never physical. Ever. That is the only condition. You do have to believe it. You do have to accept it as a reality. That is the requirement to get the thing that you want.
I know we say you better recognize, or you gotta recognize that the imagination is the reality, and we're living in the dream state.
No, I don't have a gift goal. I forgot to even do gift goals. I guess I'll start doing that going forward. I'll start putting the gift goals there. But no, that wasn't even a part of my awareness.
What's a gift goal?
How many gifts you want the live to give you? So some people will put like 5,000 roses, or so many galaxies, or that type of thing. And so you're letting the chat know how many gifts to send you.
Okay, I didn't even know that was a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what that means. I never really got that either about you know. But then again, I mean, the first time I used TikTok, I was trying to find the heart and like button, like on Facebook to like something. And I was like, well, how are these people getting all these likes? And I was watching a guy play music. And I said, I really want to like what you're doing. How do I do it? And then he goes, he goes, oh yeah, just tap the screen. Just tap the screen. So I was like tapping the screen. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's how you do it. Okay. Because I'm trying to find the heart and the thumbs up, like, on Facebook, But, yeah, I like,
You said you be making it rain on your people. Well, I'm like, but just seeing whatever's in your heart to seeing.
So, it's so true that I mean, you hear like people say that the faith and imagination, all that, it's not required, and yet when you read books by Neville, Dr. Joseph Murphy, and all that, they all say it's
Thank you.
it's a requirement. What I liked again about this chapter is that they all have something in common: persistence, belief in the assumption, being in the assumption, and using their imagination. So it's like making a cake with just eggs. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but it's not going to be a good cake.
That's called scrambled eggs. I don't know if that's called
Yeah,
a cake.
exactly. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean? She got about technical. It's scrambled eggs. So if you put a candle on and some frosting, it's a cake.
I mean, you can imagine it's a cake. You can say you're eating a cake because the mind, right? Because what's real, as they say, what's real, right? Just like you have your play kitchen and you up there whipping up in your play kitchen. Oh,
right. Your little tea party. Yep.
That's it.
Well, it's. I have a story to share. I remember working on the soap opera All My Children in New York. And there was a guy that was saying hi to people that were working on the extras, the people that had under 5 lines, the major actors, the supporting actors, etc. So there was this guy, and he looked homely, and he was saying good morning to, like the supporting cast, which I was one of them, and nobody would say good morning to this guy. So I said good morning to him. I just took the initiative and said, hey, good morning, how are you? Because I felt bad that he was saying good morning to everybody nicely, and nobody said good morning to him. So I said good morning to him, asked him how he was doing. He's, Puerto Rican. We were talking Spanish for a little bit. And then, he went about his way. I was like, oh, what a nice guy. I didn't even think anything about it. And one of the other actors that were there were like, oh my God, I can't believe she said hi to that guy. I'm thinking to myself, oh, whatever. So when it comes time to shoot the scene, turns out that homely looking Puerto Rican guy was the first camera man, meaning that he chooses who gets to be near the principal actors and our scene, who gets to say roles, who gets to come back, who doesn't get to come back. So when everybody else realized who he was, then they were being nice to him. Right. But he kind of saw the falsehood of it. So he calls me over and he goes, yeah, I want you to stand over here. I want you to say this. You can see me on every episode. I worked on that soap opera for 2 weeks. Every episode, I'm there. It's like my mother was like, man, my mother was watching and she's like, we videotaped it too. We have it on VHS. Mm-hmm. And my mom would play it for other family member friends. I'm like, look at my daughter. She's right there. Look, my daughter just did this. Look, my daughter did that. Look, my daughter did this. Look, my daughter. All because I said good morning to a person. That he was kind of homely looking. Well, okay, well, maybe he was running after the subway. Maybe, he was rushing that morning. I don't know. Maybe he just threw something on because he had to get to work. Who cares? But it goes to show you can't judge a book by its cover. Because he looked like kind of homely, and it turns out that they were all assuming he was maybe the janitor. Turns out he's the first camera guy. And he got my name on the day of that shoot, and he goes, "How would you like to work on this particular?" Because I don't know if you guys follow all my children. Brooke was always in trouble. Man, that girl's like been in court more than half the criminals on the ID channel. Anyway, she was accused of something, and he goes, "How would you like to be on this episode? It runs for 2 weeks." It was paying like $250 a day, which was a lot. And then he had got me upgraded from $250 to $500 a day to work on that soap, and all because I said good morning. I felt bad that he's talking to people and nobody else would say good morning to him. And just by simply just saying hi to somebody. So that reminded me of that when Kevin was telling me about how just stepping on somebody's foot, he meant where his name came from. Right. And me by just saying good morning to somebody that nobody else wanted to talk to, because he didn't smell or anything but even if he did smell, I'd still say good morning. If you say good morning to me, I'll say good morning to you. No biggie. Right. Right. But just because I simply say, "Oh, good morning, Ronnie. How you doing, my friend?" You just simply say, just by simply saying hi to somebody, it could just, because I would have never in my wildest nightmares would have thought that dude was a camera guy. Never. I would have never said he was a camera guy.
Some people just like invisible unless they feel like you can do something for them, or they feel like, but that's just the way the world is, right? Just like that's why you got to do you. You got to be you, be comfortable in your own skin, let your light shine, do what feels, normal and comfortable for you,
Exactly.
Yep. Teddy, did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh yeah, I was going to just wait as Gigi through, because I love these testimonies and reflections. I do, I really do, because they just all come into play. And that Gigi just said, that reminded me. I might have read a book called The Power of Positivity, but that's what it reminded me of. She was being positive. There more, you know what I mean? And that is a very strong magnet in itself. But let me share this. Two things. Let me share this. When I was living down in this high-rise place down here in Detroit, and listen, this is when I was still in it. Mind you, I don't ever remember being. Anyway, I keep reflecting, because I don't ever remember being holier than thou. For some reason, a lot of Christians that I came in contact during that path were kind of like those people, and I wasn't there. I had faith, and I believed that faith was coming from an outside thing at the time. But listen, so I had moved down, and I was so ecstatic. Oh my God. I was so ecstatic about this new abode. So every day I would come in from work. Well, I worked nights at this time. And so listen, I would come in, and when I opened my door, okay, let me see. I would come in the door, and then when I look toward my right, I'm looking across the Detroit River. I had a panoramic riverfront view. And so I was just in a state of awe. So I would come in every night, and I would stop at my door, and I would look over there, and I would say, "Thank you, God. Thank you so much. Oh my God, thank you." Because, you would see all the lights up from Canada, all of that. It was just a beautiful scene. So wait a minute. So one night, this went on for like a week or 2 weeks, whatever. And so one night, it was a very, very foggy day. It was like, I could tell it was a rainy, foggy, cloudy night. And so when I got in that night, it was a ritual almost that I would do. I came in, I opened the door, I looked to the right, and it was pitch total black, as if someone had dropped a black cloth in front of that whole my windows. I could see no lights. I started walking closer, because I was like, "Thank you." And then I started walking closer and closer, like I couldn't see anything, because that's just how the fog from whatever that causes that, And as I'm standing there going that, it seems as if I heard a voice that said, "Okay, so do you still thank me?" Okay, so I'm sitting. I want you to watch it. So I'm going. Yeah, when I look back on that, it's like, okay, so now you don't see it. You don't, you're not all into that. You're looking at total darkness, which I believe is where we create everything from. That subconscious is that mind. It comes out of that. And I said, yes, like, do you still thank me? Even though you don't see all of the hoopla, ha la 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 la, you still, how you feeling now? And that's just always something that stuck with me that I share. The thing right quick is when who was that? I think Gigi was telling about the mountain, the children and the mountain. It kind of reminded me, and I
That
know
was
you
me.
guys heard this parable before, about the little girl, about faith. It's about faith, about how they were experiencing drought for years, drought, and because of that, there was famine, nothing growing and stuff. So every night they were going to church, they was praying, they were praying for rain, praying for rain. So one night this little girl was coming and she had her umbrella with her. This is the prayer. She had her umbrella, and everybody looking at her like, well, why do you have an umbrella? I mean, we haven't had any rain. Da, 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 da. She was like, but I believe it's going to rain. I believe it's going to rain. And as the story goes, get out of church and it's pouring down raining. And she's the only one that had her little umbrella. So, yeah, I think about, like I said, listening to you guys, it just takes me back. Now, here's the one I'm going to land my jet leer with. It says, I do this a lot. I think I mentioned it the other day. It's like, I use it a lot when it comes to not recalling things. If it's something I can't recall right away, or if I think something is lost. Because I always heard that saying, nothing's never lost. But if I don't know where I put something, I'm looking for it. I do remember I can get into a frenzy. I'm sure we all have, especially if it's important, like your car keys maybe, or your wallet or whatever. And I'm just looking for it, and I'm looking for it. And I finally learned, when I tell you this, you talk about magic. When I just finally start doing this, I say, and I literally talked to it though. I talked to it. I said, I used to use the term subconscious. I used to say subconscious. You know everything. You know everything. Where is it? And I'm kind of walking. I'm not in a frenzy though. I'm just walking, and I might be walking toward the left, and without a thought, it seems like my body turns. I've done it so much, and it'll just turn and walk to a spot and just bam. And this happens often, guys. I'm not just saying that. It works. That's how I practice it so much that it can work. And then it came to me, the verse that was in the Bible. It never sleeps nor slumbers. It never sleeps nor slumbers. So it always knows. You just have to be, know how to tune into it. So yeah, I just want to get back in here and share that.
Oh, love that. Love that. Yep.
Yep.
Talk. That's what we talk to. Got to talk to yourself. I talk to myself because there is no.
Yeah, you and realize, like you said, aware. I love that word awareness. First of all, I would never do that if I wasn't aware that I knew that it knew. Okay, that
Right,
I knew. I knew
right.
that I knew. I knew. Yeah, that I
Yep.
knew. I knew.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
yeah.
Love it. Love it. Cheryl, Key, Latoxi, you girlies have anything to add? Ladies, go ahead, Key.
I was gonna say, I forgot what chapter that was about the penthouse. What chapter?
The penthouse. Maybe it's 23. I don't know.
Not
Maybe it was
exactly.
the third or fourth case.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I really like that chapter because it reminded me to like don't become attached to control, right? Because it was so subtle. Like I noticed that they didn't obsess over the building that they, had in mind and originally. They just assumed being a penthouse dweller, right?
Right.
And then,
Somebody blowing it up.
Thank you.
and then they end up receiving exactly that, but it was better than the original target. Like they didn't bind to a specific building or a specific landlord. They imagined a penthouse, a window, a fireplace. I think it was a mirror wall. Then boom.
They were detailed, right? Like this is what I want.
Right. That's what but they didn't assume, they assumed the experience and not how. So you know what it made me think of?
What?
It made me think of UT, because remember when you told us you manifested your husband, you said, I'm a good woman and I deserve a good man, right? and you ain't come up with a list of attributes on what a good man is. Guilty, I'm guilty. I still got a list, right?
That's okay.
you didn't say, oh, these are the specific traits. These are my non-negotiables, right? I love this because you assumed who you were. You said the focus was, I'm a good woman. And that's really chapter 1 of this whole book is self-concept, and the mirror has to adjust, right? Now, I'm not suggesting that boundaries are wrong or a checklist is wrong, but most of the time that's coming from fear. Let me prevent being hurt. So, you know, he got it right. So, but like you said, you can have one. You always say that you can have a checklist if you want. That's what you want to do. That's fine. But you just showed us it's not required. You declared your identity, and I got a chance to see it in action in real life. You know what I'm saying? It's not just talk, right?
Talk about it, girl.
Let's get into it. Yes.
Let's get into it.
Your husband pulls up, beautiful car, and he gets out the car and he opens your door. And it was the body language. It just reflected care that he had for his wife. You know, you assumed I'm a good woman and I'm worthy of good love, and he had to conform. And so what you and your husband proved to me was that when you assume who you are, you don't need no checklist, because a checklist, it's embedded in the state, right? So my success story today is that I'm destroying my checklist.
Oh,
Get rid of it.
Well,
I need a checklist. Yes.
Who
So,
needs a checklist? Who needs a
I need a checklist. Correct. Yeah. So I gotta find it. It's somewhere in this pile, but it's going in the garbage. So,
I love it. I love it. Yeah, because that's how I tell. Like I was talking to my oldest daughter, and I was like, and my son was there too, and I was like, you know, you're not gonna have to ask for the things of your partner. They're just going to know to do these things for you. I'm like, the drinks I like, the snacks I like, they're already there. It's already in it. I'm like, I told him, I said, he keeps it stocked. And it's not one way either, right? This ain't no one way thing where he doing everything for me and then I don't consider him and I don't do things for no. This is a two-way street. This is a symbiotic love. This is a love. This is a dance. I ain't dancing by myself. We dancing together. So I do things for him that he also enjoys and things that he likes too. So like I bought all his clothes and shoes. I like I used to do the toiletries. I kind of backed off of that, but so he get his toilet. But for a long time, for a great part of our marriage, I was doing all the toiletries too. Getting the cologne. He like, of course, he started now. He's expanded his cologne thing. So I don't necessarily, some of the cologne I was getting was older cologne, but now that he's expanded, his cologne thing, so he kind of goes and do that. But it's like, I remember you were asking me about being a traditional wife and everything, and what the roles are in a home. And before he started doing the side thing where he builds with the wood, he did cook more. It was like a 50-50. My first husband cooked. So when you were saying like, men just want you to, no, if you don't like it, you're gonna get a man who enjoys it. But the thing is, don't focus on what you don't like, right? Because you get what you don't like. So it's not that I don't like cooking. I was indifferent about it. We gotta eat. So what you gonna do? Either you going out all the time or you gonna prepare the meal. Like pick a side. Whatever it's gonna do, right? So do I cook every day? No. It's probably 50-50. He prepares the things that I feel like he does really well. He cooks really good, everything. But like the stuff that I'm like, I'm not really good at it. So could you make this? we gonna have this tonight. So can you make, so I let him know ahead of time, because he's mostly time in the garage doing his side thing, doing his other passion. He has two passions, his full-time job and then his second job, which is building his customized wood products. So yeah, I mean, when you decide that you're worthy of the thing, like you said, the state already has what a man is. I didn't have to tell God, my awareness, the Father, what a good man looked like. It already knew. He's already there. So everything that I need now may be different for another woman. My husband, may not fit with somebody else, but that's because it's my husband, right? So we don't try to like make every man fit this mold or make every woman fit this mold. You are unique unto yourself, and the thing that you need is going to come to you because it's already there.
Right.
It's already there. You deserve all the love. You desire to be treated like a queen, pampered, all of that. Because I asked him, like, how did he come to this? And you know who who he's inspired by?
Who?
The Huxtables.
Oh my goodness!
Hostage.
Wow.
That's what he
I can see that.
viewed
Yeah.
them as an ideal power couple, black couple to identify with. I was like, oh, I'm clear and you Cliff. All right.
Yes. Except for you are a stay-at-home wife,
Right,
so
but
you
she
may
worked
not.
outside the home. Right,
And she
right,
works outside the home. Yes,
right.
but no, I love that. Yeah, you're right, and you're right about you get what whatever you focus on, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. Because I did focus on, I don't want a man who I have to cook for, and then that's exactly what I got. Someone demanding that I cook all the time, even though I worked.
That was my first husband. I got everything I didn't want.
Yeah.
That was my first husband. I got everything I didn't want. Like, damn. Like, when you look over your life and you come to the law of assumption, the law of belief of this truth, and you look back over your life, you start to see whether it was the stuff you wanted versus stuff you didn't want. You see it's because of your thoughts.
Yep.
It was where your attention was. That's what became your reality.
I have something to add. Whenever it's my turn, just let me know.
Oh, it's your turn.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wait, just wait a second. I want to see if Toxic
Yeah.
or Cheryl, because they haven't
Exactly.
said anything.
Exactly. I didn't want
Wow.
to cut in front of anyone, so just let me know.
Okay, I will. And then A-Town also is up here. So, Cheryl, the Toxic, did you want to add anything?
I'll just share real quick. I mean, what I really like today is, I mean, I love the stories, I love success stories. The book was great, but I'm really getting a lot out of what everybody's sharing, like their personal stories. I especially liked Keys and Teddy Girls because it's, I have a lot going on in my 3D world right now that could kind of like put me into a whirlwind. And so their examples are just, Key kind of like with, her remodeling, like it at first her mind did go a little bit off the rails and getting caught up in the fear part. But then again, you can correct it. And so I really kind of needed to hear that today. And then I loved with Teddy Girl, like just how instantaneous it was. Like she didn't seem to sweat it, but she was just like, this is what I need, and just kind of let it go at that. And again, like the whole, the truth of it is like, what are we thinking about? Am I worrying about not getting what I need? Or if I'm just going to be like, okay, I got this. And it doesn't matter like what's happening here or there, as long as I know what I got, my reality is going to bend to that. So I've loved the stories this morning. They've been very inspirational for me.
They have been. Love it, love it, love it. I don't know if Latoxic's still there. Latoxic, are you still there?
I'm still here.
There she is.
I'm here. Yeah, I just loved everyone's stories. I don't have too much more to contribute. I will be sharing my success stories here soon, of course, per usual. But I just feel, like I said, these stories all of them just are so inspiring and empowering. I will say this though, I kind of lean more a little bit on the I can ask for whatever I want kind of thing. My lists do get a little long, but I'm trying to narrow it down just a tad.
No, keep your list. Some people talk about you ever heard people say write down like 200 things that you want and see those things. I've heard Steve Harvey, different, and then I think it's a book too. I've heard different people talk about manifesting, and they'll be like, yeah, I write down 100 things, see if you can come up with 100 things, and as they happen, check it off. Kind of like when people do poster boards too, right?
Okay.
And they do the vision boards, and they're like, I got 30 things, and 15, or I'm down to 3, and that type of thing. So it's the same type of mindset. You're just, instead of opposed to getting pictures, you're making a list, and there may be 100 or 150 things, no matter how big or small. You're just saying, this is what, it kind of gives you, kind of makes you more focused, right?
Yeah, the list writing helps.
With more clarity.
Yeah, I've narrowed down some of my. Yeah, I think I'm a writer. Someone in the YouTube said I'm a binge writer.
Binge writer.
I'm a writer too, so that's probably why. So I think I'm trying to narrow down some of the things that I'm specifically looking for. But I think writing it down helps me feel, regardless of the size of the list, it helps me feel more clear.
Yeah.
And I put it on my, Toyia knows about my whiteboard. I put my manifestations on my whiteboard so that I can look at them, because I work from home. So I'm looking at them all day. So like if something happens in the middle of my day or whatever that takes me off whatever I've written down, it's easy for me to just go back. No, I already decided this. This is already done. I don't need to relitigate it. I don't need to go back and try to make sense of it again or try to take in this new information. Like, it's already decided. So there's nothing else to even say. I've already written it down.
Neville talks about that too with the ladder technique, right? When he says go to bed every night, imagine yourself climbing the ladder, but during the day, put around your home post-it notes saying, I will not climb a ladder, I will not climb a ladder, I will not climb a ladder. And then you'll find yourself eventually climbing the ladder. And those who eventually climbed the ladder were the ones who were to come back, and he's going to give them some more deeper understanding of this law. But you could only have been the one that had climbed the ladder. But I'm just going to say I did, because that's what I'm talking about. What? We who do we be fact checking here?
Right.
Who the what we got?
100%. I will say, I think it's important. So something that I've learned as being a writer for my job, I learned is like things are so much powerful when you phrase them in the positive. So and I think some people already talk about this, but if you write, I don't want this, I don't want that, obviously it's like, it's already a negative thing. Like, and that really does take the focus off of what you do want. And if we can reframe, I don't want someone who doesn't want, I don't want someone who wants me.
Well, here's the thing. There's no negative in consciousness. There's no. So it's not about saying, because remember we did the butterfly technique. I said, I'm not going to see a butterfly. And what happened? I saw a butterfly. So saying that you don't want something or saying that you do, it's about the focus, right? It's not the words, it's the focus. So if you say, I don't want a good man, what are you talking about? A good man.
Heard.
That's why imagining climbing the ladder and then saying that you weren't going to climb the ladder, what was the focus on?
The ladder, right.
Climbing the ladder. The consciousness doesn't know negative or positive. That's a human construct. That's a logical way of thinking. The consciousness doesn't see wrong, right, good or bad, positive or negative. It only says, where's your focus?
Yeah.
What has your attention? Then that's what I'm going to give you.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yep. So it's not so much I know we talk about don't be negative, but it's about embodying the state, shifting the identity, as Gigi was saying, the being of the version you want. Just be that. Don't put the focus on what not to do. Right? Because it's just like me telling you, don't think of a pink elephant. Now make sure you don't think of a pink elephant. Now don't you dare think of a pink elephant. Don't you dare think of a pink elephant like somebody tell, stop looking at the 3D. Stop looking at the 3D. Don't you dare look at the 3D. Circumstances don't matter. What do you find yourself doing? Paying attention to the 3D. Because the very thing that they told you not to do, that's where they put your focus at. And guess what? Your attention is going to go to what they were talking about.
Yeah.
But if I tell you, stay in the identity, Embody the state. Be the person who has it. What does that look like? How does she talk? How does she walk? How does she dress? What does she eat? Where does she eat? How does she travel? Where does she travel? That's what Neville never talked about. Not ignoring the 3D. Neville, Dr. Joseph Murphy, Reverend I, he liked the denial thing. But Neville and Dr. Joseph Murphy and a lot of others like them, they didn't focus on what they didn't want. The focus was always on what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you focus on what you don't want, guess what happens? You get it.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say. I think that's ultimately what I'm trying to say is that if you can switch for the focus from what you don't want to what you do want, then that will help.
Even if the statement is negative.
Yeah, even if it's negative. But the concept of just being like, actually, when I'm saying I don't want something, what am I actually saying I do want?
Yep. When you say you don't want something, you're saying you do want it.
Right.
Stop talking about what you don't want, because you're actually saying that's what you want. When you say you don't want a thing, you're saying you do want it. Because why? You're talking about it. Yeah. We don't talk about stuff that don't exist. Impossible. It's impossible to talk about things that don't exist. Yeah. How you talk about like when people are like, oh, I have the SP, but there's a third party. Then how are you on a menage a trois? Because how's it a third party if this is a committed 2-person thing? Where does third party come from? You wrote them into the script and then you made that they're there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm reading me as comments. I'm like one of those people that what I write down is I say I have this, I have that. Like I don't beg for it. I just decide it. This is my way of like deciding what I want. So I say, oh, so-and-so offered me the job. Oh, I bring in X amount of dollars a month. However that happens. Oh, I do whatever. So to me, that's not begging. To me, it's just like it's me. It's how I focus my thoughts. Personally.
Yeah, I wasn't like thinking about you per se, but I was just thinking about her. Someone say like a list of wants. Like I don't even have 200 things I want. You know, I can't even think of 200 material things that I want. And I just feel like want is a state of lack because you don't have anything you want. You have what you have. And if everything you desire is already in existence, how can you want something that you have? Wanting is a sign of deficit and chase. I have everything that I need already. So I'm just confused, not about you per se. I'm confused in the sense of wanting. If I have everything that I need, how can I want it?
Well, want is what we say in lieu of desire, right? To have a desire is to want a thing. You move from want to have, right? Because now you desire this because from the lower self, the ego self, the logical self, you don't see it.
Right.
It's not there. So that's the wanting. That's the mainspring of life desire, which is to want a thing that you think isn't there. But in order to actualize it, now you have to go within and act from the 4th dimensional space, from your imagination, to see that the reason why I'm wanting it is because I already have it.
Right. I guess because I guess I'm just nervous. I don't want to fall into the trap of making lists of wants and live in a state of lack, constantly thinking about.
Well, I don't look at it as in. So when I say a list of wants, it's the things I would like to experience in my 3rd dimensional space, right? Because right now I'm not experiencing these things 3rd dimensionally. 4th dimensionally, they're already there. 3rd dimensionally, not in my awareness. Right? 3rd dimension, like you just like, because 3rd dimensionally, like you could say, well, I'm married, but 3rd dimensionally, the husband isn't there, but 4th dimensionally, he was always there.
Right.
And so now the desire to be married is the catalyst that brings that allows the faith to make the marriage appear.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The faith is the key to turn the unseen to visibility.
Right. Okay. I guess I'm not big on writing like lists of things I want in a man and
Oh,
all
me
that.
either. I'm just saying that was a suggestion
And
for those
I
that
didn't.
like to write. For people that like to write, I'm just, like I'm not a big writer. I write things down, but I don't. I just write my feelings out. I don't use it
Yeah.
as a catalyst to manifest. Sometimes I just like to write things out.
Yes, me too. And like writing my thoughts out.
Like
And
therapeutic, right? Like
yeah.
therapeutic. Yeah,
And
but not necessarily.
the older way kind of tell you, oh yeah, write down these things you want in a man. And I've always thought that that's a focus on the other person, because it's like you you need to be the person that attracts the man you want, right? So it pivots it back to you being. And we all have things that we want to receive. And Latoxic, I didn't want to cut you off. I was having a question. I just wanted clarity. So I'll let you finish, Latoxic, if you need to finish your thought.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Oh, okay. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was, in the whole relationship and dating and just yourself, I reflected on like even my divorce on myself. It was an issue of self-love and not getting what I needed out of relationships because of how I saw myself. And, I just didn't want to fall into the trap of focusing on the outside of what I wanted that other person to be, but focusing on who I needed to be and what I deserved. Versus, and like when you explain how you got with your husband, and that's exactly what I'm embodying. And like the first person I dated, who is going to be my next husband, I'm manifesting, I'm gonna keep saying it. But when I first dated him, I remembered that it was about to be the new year of 2024, and I had just decided, okay, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to date. I had been divorced, I believe, about 2 years at that time, and I was healed. I was on my journey. I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to date. And I said it, and I didn't realize that I had kind of assumed it. So I wasn't as knowledgeable in this state. I think I had already deconstructed, but I wasn't, here. But I had said, I'm going to start dating. I think I'm ready and I deserve love and da 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 da. And I met this amazing man who gave me everything that my ex-husband lacked. And I was like, my head was spinning. I was like, hold on, what? I had never received reciprocation in the way that I wanted it in a relationship. And I've always had this kind of, I would say, chip on my shoulder of, I never get the love back that I give. I never get the love back that I give. And in that relationship, I've got somebody that was crazy about me in a way that was protective, secure, romantic, in a mature, masculine, loving way that I really wanted. And he was fine as hell. And he was everything. Everything. He checked all the boxes. And I could not take it. I could not take it. I was like, this man don't want me. Something wrong. And I sabotaged it because I didn't believe I deserved that. I did not fully believe I deserved everything I said I wanted. I manifested it because I said, when I said it, I said, I'm ready for love. I think I deserve love right now. And love came to me quickly. I met him January. The first week of January, I met him. He took me to New Orleans to meet his mama, his family. Mama cooked for me. She was lovely. Met his family, went to the French Quarter, got free drinks. His uncle's like the biggest bartender on the French Quarter. Like, it was amazing. My friends went, he was in a car telling them how amazing I was. And I sabotaged it because I didn't think I was amazing. And, marrying my ex-husband, I married someone who was kind and nice, but who didn't do the things that I needed to do because I felt like that was enough, because I didn't feel like I was enough. And it's kind of played out across relationships that I don't get enough because I don't feel like I'm enough. So I bring characters into my life that give me exactly what I feel about myself. So while I'm not shooting down the whole list thing, I just don't want to mess up. I don't want to do anything to sabotage myself and not
Right. Well, the list doesn't resonate with you, but it resonates with some people. So, I
Right,
mean,
right. So I
that's
don't,
not your thing, but
right.
yeah.
And I do write, right? I do write, but I just want to make sure that I don't live in a state of lack and that I'm making sure that I'm righteous and my self concept is in the right place before I go out there because, I want to make sure I know what I deserve. And I try to perpetuate that across all relationships so that it's comfortable, right? Because you don't deserve to be treated well just in romantic relationships, right? You deserve to be treated well in your family and your friendships, at work, and all those things. But you also have to exude that, and it's going to be mirrored back to you. So, yeah, it's just trying to make sure that I am not settling and not getting.
Well, here's the thing. How could you settle when you know that you're worthy of it? Doesn't go together.
Facts.
So you're trying to do something, mean you're not it.
Yep.
You're not being it.
Mhm.
So when you decide that you're worthy, the other things aren't options. They don't even enter your mind. Like when I decided I was worthy, there was no I gotta make sure it doesn't. No, it was going to once I decided it was a done deal. There was no other options. There's no other considerations.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
And honestly, you gotta and people only do you how you allow them to. And when relationships come and you feel
But like you said,
yeah.
here's the thing. They're only showing you what you believe to be true.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, I do want to say that I got some stuff I got to do. So I am going to close the live at 12:45.
I know you do
Not
because
to
I
rush
meant to tell
anybody.
you earlier you was looking sexy over there. I see how you looking. You must
Oh
be
no,
going
this is
somewhere.
this is a jogging suit, girl.
But
This
you
ain't
still look
nothing.
cute.
Oh, thank you. No, I'm going to my cousin's house. He bought my mobile bar, so I have to go drop it off for him. Yeah. But I am gonna close the live at 12:45 in like 15 minutes.
Okay.
It's
But
all your assumptions. It's your assumptions. If it's whether you write it down or you already know it in your mind or know it within yourself, it's all your assumptions.
Yes. Okay.
I had a relationship with somebody that at first it was going great, and then I automatically started assuming. I realize that now, but at the time I didn't. I started assuming that he liked somebody else, and then wondered why the two of them got together. And at times when when you're saying to yourself, whether you write it down, as I like to make lists. I make a list. I don't kind of go with generic. I'm actually very specific with what I command or claim. I'm specific. That's me. That's how I do it. And I do write out lists as well. Not because I'm thinking the list is going to make it happen. It's just because there's a lot of things I desired and I like to keep track of them. And the moment you get what you want, the moment you get what you desire, because it already belongs to you regardless, it kind of surprises you. Then in a way you start thinking, oh, this was too easy, or how did I get this, or do I deserve this, and blah 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 blah. So then you start thinking opposite, and then you kind of start repelling what you desire. So it's all your assumption. If you're assuming that at the time with this, and he sounds like a wonderful guy, and yeah, you can get him back, why not see yourself with him? But you start believing, I deserve this. This man loves me. He wants to be with. Look how great he is to me. I'm so, I'm happy he's with me, whatever. And you start believing and accepting that that's something you deserve. Then you won't sabotage it. You didn't sabotage anything. Is your thoughts went a completely opposite direction. So it's all assumption. Believe it, it's all awareness and assumption. Whatever you give your attention to, whether you want it or don't want it. Like I've said things, like, I don't want that. And the moment I take my attention away from that thing that I don't want, by simply saying I don't want it, it won't come back because my attention is not on that thing that I don't want. But if I'm the thing that I don't want, I'm putting my attention on it, then yeah, I'm going to get that thing that I don't want. And it works the same thing with the things that you do want. The thing, if I want that, you put your attention on it, you'll get it. Something that you want, you don't put your attention on it, then you won't get it. So it's all what this book teaches: power of awareness.
Yep. Yep. And we'll continue this conversation on Wednesday. I do think we need to have relationship talk. That seems to be between money and relationships. I mean, health also, that's the trifecta, right? Health, relationships, and finances.
We need an SP Saturday. I keep telling you, we gotta do SP Saturday, SP Sunday.
But next week is the final 4 chapters of the book. The last 4 chapters. So next week we'll be finishing the book. So finish up the book, the last 4 chapters, which we like to say tiny but mighty. So we'll be going deep into that. But just, it really is about everything in your life, from health to wealth to relationship. It is about how you perceive yourself, how you're willing to see yourself, right? And as someone on YouTube said, he said, "This is awesome. I am guilty of this from a male perspective. I need to prepare myself for my blessings. It's like eating chocolate cake on the treadmill, but still wanting to lose weight." Right? So it's here's the thing: when you embody the state, the actions will marry it, right? And it's not to say that you won't ever eat chocolate cake. It's just that the chocolate cake won't put on weight. It's when you shift your mindset to the reality of being the person who has it, nothing can come against it. If God be for me, if my good be for me, then what can be against me? Nothing can be against God, not even food. You will enjoy the chocolate cake and still lose weight when you know who I am. Right? When you know, so then when somebody's loving on you, you're not going to look at it as love bombing. Oh, they're love bombing me. That's because you don't believe that you should have love. Because what the hell is love bombing?
And I fought for love bombing.
Somebody telling you how awesome you are, how wonderful you are, how beautiful you are, how amazing you are, and you're going to say they shouldn't be bombing you with that? Why the hell you don't want to hear that reflected back to you? That part just never made sense to me. But that's only because people don't believe that that's who they are. Because like I think Mia's familiar with the content creator said, my confidence don't come from your compliments. So you can compliment me all day long. I hate the confidence before you even. I knew I was the bomb before you even said it. You're reflecting back to me who I am. You only see what I see. Do you see what I see? Yep.
I have one little mild question for you. And are we gonna ever get a Cisco Toyia couples live and let us get some?
Probably not.
Oh, I had to ask. Okay.
You have to manifest that, but right now he's seen but not heard. A man of little words. I have said that before. I have said that, but it's been a while. But I'm gonna let A-Town come on through here. What's up, broski? You have any words?
What it do?
What it do?
Peace and love to the chat. What up, sis?
What's up?
Definitely. I was sitting on the couch actually today. Had a lot going on, but I was just loving, just always loving the vibe. I'm over here recapping like Kev, to where, it's always just a good vibe when you're able to just, just be at the table of just good stories, excellent breakdowns. I love the way, Cheryl and Mia and Gigi are able to kind of really like relate, because it's really, you're able to resonate with each different story, some piece of something you're able to take away. So I just love it on the live, and wanted to, shed some love, put some flowers on the people's boards, and you know what I'm saying. But in my own reality, I'm just going through a transition of, I think, just wanting to be gratitude, really, I guess the basics, really tapping into just being gratitude, wanting to always wanting to be in if I am abundant, I'm always having the mindset of giving, or always wanting to be able to provide value, and not counting. I used to have a tendency of, what am I getting for this? What am I getting? Always in some type of reciprocity, and I kind of sensed like that was an old program that I want to kind of step out of, where if I'm abundant, I don't count it. It's always coming back to me tenfold, hundredfold, whatever fold. And I already have what I need, as Mia had mentioned, always, if I'm not in a state of lack or wanting, I'm in a state of being. and just loving, and just loving on myself, and wanting to really just keep that self-awareness that we have. I love the success stories that was mentioned through the book. I wasn't able to tap into all of those but I just coming from being able to get the recap today, and also like in the toxic, just the just the basic, how she's able to really kind of elaborate more into her story, and just, I guess, just the transparency and authenticity I love on the panel, so just loving on y'all, and loving the chat, and have a good day today, sis.
Thank you.
Shout out to Cisco. Shout out to Cisco.
I know, right?
Loving let me give my, let me give my salute to Cisco. You know what I'm saying? Loving on you, bro. And y'all have a wonderful day.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so Wednesdays is 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we'll continue this manifestation of the relationship, whether it's friendship. I'm manifesting friendships, and those friendships are those who are on this path, right? So I got my girl Gigi, Key, Mia, we gonna link on one day, Cheryl, but those I have seen live and in real person. A-Town, we gonna link up too, but I've met Aaron, I've met Gigi, I've met Key, and and then it's like you want people that's like in your, I know age is not a number, it's just a number, but you also want people that, share the same, and not to say that there has to be, but sometimes you do want to talk to people that are on the same path, that see it from your point of view. Not to say that that's the only friendships you should have, right? Because you're still going to have family that you talk to, even though they don't see it from your point of view. You can still have enriching conversations with them, right? You can still, it's just up to you to define, and don't slide back to that whole lack or scarcity mindset, that you command the conversation, and not that you are, over talking anyone or stopping someone. Oh, I don't talk about that anymore. No, you just easily lead and guide it, with wisdom, with loving kindness. And you just like, yeah, so tell me what's going on with you. Oh, you've been looking good. I've been seeing you on social media. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, you still interested in that? Oh, you're gonna find that man. Yeah, the money's gonna come. You're gonna have more money than you. It's just about uplifting the conversation, right? We can't uplift the conversation even when the conversation tends to be going to a negative place. You can just redirect and be like, don't even worry about it. It's going to work itself out. You're going to get that bill money. You're going to get that promotion, or, the money going to come, and it's going to be in a way you don't even expect. And they're going to find themselves lifting up in their continence and how they're having the conversation with you. Right. So, but I'm loving this community. I'm loving the wonderful people that I've met, the amazing people. But it is a blessing to have someone in your city, in your town, that's just minutes away, that you can connect with. It's a beautiful thing. And so me and Key are being very intentional about developing this relationship that we have, because we do live in the same city, right? So if you guys are looking to develop relationships in your own city, you can say where you're from and see if there are people that are like-minded that wouldn't mind linking up, right? You have to have an intention. Like I was intentional about wanting to meet someone, right? And so a way was made that someone in my city, my age, the same mindset, was made available to me. And it just doesn't have to be for me. This can be for everyone on in this chat.
No, I'm your friend too, and I ain't in Chicago, and I'm coming, and I'm your Houston friend, and I'll be there in the summer
as well. And I'm in Wisconsin. Come on.
Yes,
you come down to Whiskey as well.
Wisconsin.
I'm coming.
Right. I'm saying we're friends, right? But I'm saying somebody that's local, right? Somebody that you can get to in minutes, right?
I'm escaping the fire in Texas in the
Gigi,
summer.
You my bestie girl.
We can Zoom.
Yes, and Mia, that's my Mia. She's my little sister.
I'm coming.
Mia, my little sister. That's
my little sister. I'm 42. I'm little sis at 42.
Well, we got 11-year difference. Yeah.
Yep.
You little sis.
Well, I'm escaping the lake of fire this summer, and I'm coming to Chicago.
Yep, let us know.
Well, I'm
We
not
can
gonna
make
call
it
you
happen.
little sis. I'm not gonna call you little sis. I'm gonna call you sis. You my sister, okay?
Mini me.
Yes, and
You my
I'm short. I
sister.
ain't but 5'1". I'm little sis. I could be
Oh,
whatever.
see.
I'm
Little
little bit.
sis.
But we all fam. We all friends. I know we be putting labels on stuff, but you know what I'm saying.
Did anybody see the picture with her and who'd you meet up with?
Key.
Man, yeah.
Key is
Her and Keith,
gorgeous.
man,
She's
y'all
so
look like
cute.
daggone twins.
Y'all look like twins, first
I
cousins.
swear.
My
Mm-hmm.
daughter was like,
At
"Oh
least
yes,
sis.
she's T." Yeah, my daughter. She
Really?
was
That is
like,
so
"Yeah." She
sweet.
commented on the picture. She
Yeah,
Yep.
Oh, I
y'all was
commented.
missed
beautiful.
it. Okay.
My
That was a beautiful
daughter
pic.
said, "Oh yeah, she's T." Yes, they.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God, making me blush. But no, when Toya well, Gigi, you've already seen for yourself, and I haven't seen you in Gigi. I want to meet you, but Toya in
Likewise.
person, it's not even. It's wow. I
Yeah,
was
Toya's
blown
amazing in
away.
person.
No, but
Y'all, you
the
all
face
are
card,
gorgeous.
the
Gigi
face
and
card.
Key
Thank
are
you. So are you.
gorgeous.
Thank
Gigi
you. So
and
are
Key
you guys.
are gorgeous. Oh my
Thank
goodness.
you. So
Their
are you,
pictures don't
baby.
do them justice.
I just
For
want y'all
real.
to know
Thank
this is
you.
me in real life. I just want y'all to be ready.
I know, right,
I'm
Mia?
throwed
Like,
off.
she slays for real. Don't play.
But no, really, I'm talking about my personality. I'm throwed off in real life. I'm crazy. So just be
Yeah.
ready, girls.
We
Be
love
All
ready.
crazy.
right, all right. We coming
We
down to
love
Indy
crazy.
too. We coming to Indianapolis to see La Toxic. We coming
Yeah.
down.
Yep,
Make a
definitely.
drive. Yes. But all right, gang.
Okay.
I'll catch you guys
Have a
on
great weekend.
Wednesday. Have a great
Bye.
weekend. Bye bye.
Bye.